For Yah righteousness, Jerusalem, and the Holy See. Peace, everyone. Can you hear me? If you can, let me know. Okay. You heard what I was just talking about. And again, with this situation with the Bundys and these militia, I heard Ammon Bundy the other morning, a little brief interview. And what it sounds like to me, even though he didn't say it exactly like this, but this is what I'm getting. These militias, what they are doing, they're pushing the envelope about the Constitution, okay? Because, the way, the propagandists, the media controlled by the Illuminati Edomite is constantly saying, you understand, this is a democracy, right? And America's predicated on the Constitution, right? But see, I'm sure that the militias like myself, they know over the years, okay, since you can go all the way back to FDR, you understand, they being the Illuminati Edomite through the Skull and Bone Boys here in America, they have systematically done away with the Constitution per se. They've incapacitated it with these amendments that they constantly put in play, all right, to where now, and it's been this way for a while, basically, when America is in a state of war, the president of the country is basically a dictator. All right, you understand? He didn't have to go through Congress. He didn't have to do it. He can do executive actions and do what he wants to do. But at the same time, we know that the president is not running anything. He's controlled. He's nothing but a puppet, okay, for the House of Rothschild. And so you understand, this is why they keep America in basically a perpetual state of war, okay? And, basically since World War II. You follow what I'm saying? The Korean War, the Vietnam War, the situation with Iran in 79, 80. You follow me, when they took control of the embassy? And you understand, you had a little period there where America kind of wasn't in a war-like situation, more or less a Cold War, ignoring them. You see what I'm saying? Hoping that they, I guess, if they don't say anything to them, they'll disband and go home. But you understand, the Bundys and these militias, they like, no, you're going to address this situation and let us know, just is this country still constitutionally based? Now, we see in the Book of Remembrance, right, in that chapter 51, Uremia, what does it say? We would have healed Babylon, but she cannot be healed. For her judgment reaches unto the sky. Let every man do what? Flee back into his own country. See? So we very well could be seeing what's going to precipitate. We've already been having some shows with Mark Sims, about the Madonnas and the Sean Connerys and Nicolas Cage and what's the girl's name? The Edomite in the Marvel movies. Yeah, I can't think of her name now. It escapes me. In the Iron Man movies with Robert Downey. Gwyneth Paltrow, the Edomite, right? She left here a few years ago. She went to France. She's living in Paris and right outside Paris. So you've already had a bleeding of people leaving America. But now this could precipitate more of a leaving out of America. I mean, I know many of you have seen how the Mexicans now, it's reversed. They say many of the Mexicans now, they're going back to Mexico. Okay? Now you've got this guy who's running for president. He just threw his hat in the ring. What's his name? Johnson or whatever his name is. He's a billionaire. Because he's talking against Donald Trump, saying Donald Trump is crazy, this and that. You understand? Because we heard this guy the other day on Democracy Now! He's thrown his hat into the ring, and he's totally against, setting up a fence, what Donald Trump is talking about, putting up a fence to keep the Mexicans out. You know what I'm saying? And you know why a lot of these rich people are against the Mexicans leaving here or being allowed to come in here, because this is their help. This is who they hire. You understand what I mean? To cut their line, to keep their places clean. You see what I'm saying? And they hire them cheap. So they don't want these people to run back, to Mexico. But this is, what's going on. A lot of these Mexicans going back to Mexico. Okay, but we also see the prophecy in chapter 51, Uremia, where you've gotten all these people inside the door of Babylon raising up a shout against her, right? All of these different protesters for different reasons. The $15 an hour protests across the country, right? The Black Lives Matter, right? That's across the country. The campus rising, they rising up on the campuses about the discrimination and inequity on these campuses. That's in many places around the country, right? You see the Mexicans have risen up at different times, because of what Donald Trump has said and different things, that have been done to them. So we see prophecy constantly, steadily being fulfilled. Okay, that's the point. And again, once this, I'm pretty sure it looks like these militia people gonna press the envelope, the pedal to the metal, and they're gonna make the government respond in some shape, form, or fashion to this taking over this refuge, and it's gonna be making plain, is this country constitutionally based or not? And it's not constitutionally based. Like I said, the Constitution, as W. Bush said during his last around the last 4 years of his watch, or matter of fact, the last part of the first 4 years of his watch, when they mentioned him something about the Constitution, what did he say? I commented on it some years back then. What did he say? He said the Constitution ain't nothing but a damn piece of paper, because they have totally, nullified the Constitution. So basically now America is a socialist country run by fascist corporatocracy. And that's just the reality of it. You see what I'm saying? And so these patriots who, waving the flag and all this nonsense, you understand what I mean? They getting a rude awakening. You follow what I'm saying? They don't want to swallow the red pill. You see what I'm saying? But they're going to have to wait and look at this thing for what it really is. But it's a bitter pill to swallow, okay? And again, I want to touch on this, what I said right at the end of this session about the cleric being killed, executed in Saudi Arabia. Okay, and again, Saudi Arabia, like I said in this session, they got to get $100 a barrel for their oil. Okay, well, they got to go along with the Illuminati. You understand what I mean? Even though it's hurting them economically. Okay. And so the Illuminati, you understand, you know how the Illuminati works, right? Divide and conquer, plus, I scratch your back, you got to scratch mine. If you want me to go along with you, and do what you want me to do, you got to do what I want you to do. So the Illuminati is attacking these countries, like Venezuela, Iran, Russia, that's oil producers, and who are not in harmony with them. So, the House of Rothschild running, you understand, this western side, the NATO countries, and they basically took control of the oil wells in Iraq, Libya, and, they're in league with Saudi Arabia. But as I said before, you understand, I'm pretty certain that, again, I heard this like about 6 years ago, that the Saudi wells is they're running real low. They almost dried up. That's why these Saudis want that this natural gas pipeline built that has to run through Syria, so that they can start, because they got an abundance of natural gas, all right? And they need this pipeline so that they can start feeding natural gas to Western Europe, which will compete with the Russian natural gas pipeline. Right now, Russia's got the monopoly. See, it's like I said here a few sessions ago, everybody basically proceeds doing what they do predicated on their own needs, okay, and their own prosperity. You know what I'm saying? And Russia came into this situation because, again, they know what you understand, Saudi Arabia and the Illuminati might wants to do by bringing this pipeline in. You see what I'm saying? This gas pipeline it up through Syria. That's why they want to get rid of Assad. That's why, you understand, the Western countries have been firm, you know, led by America and Britain. They firm on wanting to get Assad out of there. You follow what I'm saying? Because Assad been blocking this. All right. And more likely than not, they want to fractionalize Syria like they fractionalized Libya. Right? Divide and conquer. Because you got a northern Libya and a southern Libya now. You understand? I'm pretty sure it's northern or southern or east and west, but it's divided. They got two parliaments. Okay? And they butting heads constantly. And that's again in that Daniel chapter 7, right? What's the strength of the fourth kingdom? Diversity, right? Again, Novo Ordo Chaos, New World Order through chaos. Divide and conquer. Again, that fourth beast that had teeth of iron and nails of what? Brass. Because this is where the Illuminati Edomites started to apply this principle of the dialectic, divide and conquer, right? In the Greek kingdom. You follow what I'm saying? When you go back and read the book of Esther, for those of you who might need a refresher, he was hooked up. He was, you understand, Haman the Amalekite was prime minister, was he not? You understand, in the Medo-Persian kingdom under Xerxes Ahasuerus. You follow what I'm saying? So what was he trying to do? He was doing his best to get along with Xerxes Ahasuerus and carry out Xerxes Ahasuerus' wishes, but at the same time, he wanted to sway Xerxes Ahasuerus to attack our forefathers and totally wipe us out, right? And then Yah changed it, Yah interceded by coming through Mordecai and Hadassah, known as Esther in the book of Esther, right? And you understand, totally knocked this out, kept this from coming about, right? But now, when the Illuminati, they were greatly illuminated, not totally, during the time of Alexander. Now we down 140-some years later. You follow what I'm saying? And so now their tactic is what? To divide and conquer. You follow what I'm saying? Get the people who they were under, to turn them, to divide them up and get them to turn on one another. And we see this with Ptolemy and Alexander, right? And they got Ptolemy to sell out Alexander. You understand? They got rid of Alexander. Ptolemy got in power, the first of that Diadochi, them 7 generals, to take the plum, you understand, of Alexander's kingdom, which was Egypt, and then the Amalekite Edomites per se, right? The partially or not full blown, but greatly blown Illuminati Edomite at the time. He wasn't totally illuminated because they didn't look at Daniel as a prophet yet. And I'm talking being, you understand, the 320 BCs. And so when they got rid of Alexander, systematically poisoned him, you understand, and he died. Again, he was broken. He was broken, right? So somebody had to break him. He was murdered. He was poisoned, right? That's the prophecy, right? And then when Ptolemy took the first, the main part of Alexander's kingdom, which was Egypt and the surrounding area, now that's Ptolemy. He set himself up in Alexandria, Egypt, right? Okay, he's hooked up with these greatly illuminated Amalekite Edomites, just a handful, and there wasn't that many. You follow what I'm saying? Who had gotten a hold of the book, read it, understood the greater amount, but still didn't look at Daniel as a prophet, right? That's Daniel chapter 12, verse 13. He wasn't standing in his lot yet, okay? Okay, so now, like I said, when you get down there to 320 BCE, now here's these Amalekites. You follow what I'm saying? They hooked in with Ptolemy, but they got something on Ptolemy. Because again, once you go into partnership with these snakes, with this Leviathan, then you understand he's got something on you. You see what I'm saying? So you're like in his power to a great degree. You see what I'm saying? Because he's got something on you that you don't want to come out, and he'll hold that over your head. See, because you can't get in bed with a snake unless you plan on getting bit. It don't make no difference how many times that the scorpion or the rattler tells you he ain't gonna bite you. You dig what I'm saying? In the end, he gonna bite you because that's what he does. You follow? And so this is what happened with Ptolemy, you see? And that's why, like, I don't know any of you out there have got this Unger's Bible Dictionary, but if you got it, and you got access to it, it might be some other place in history, but I've only seen it in this Unger's Bible Dictionary. When you're reading under like Palestine, it's either under Palestine or Jerusalem, and I think it's under Jerusalem in that Unger's Bible Dictionary. When you read through there, you'll see that during this time of the 3rd century BCE, going all the way down into the 2nd century BCE, during the time of the Osmoneans, you understand, the Maccabees who were Edomites, you'll see it's going to say that the Palestinian or the Jerusalem Jews took orders or instruction from the Alexandrian Jews. And these were the Edomites, okay? These illuminated ones who were in Alexandria, guiding the ones who were in and around Jerusalem in Palestine at the time. You see what I'm saying? They were the ones controlling it because they were there with Ptolemy. And as I've said in the past, and for those of you who have substantiated and confirmed this, when Ptolemy got control of Egypt and set himself up, Ptolemy the First, which was the beginning of the Ptolemaic dynasty in Alexandria, Egypt, they had control over the Holy Land, okay? All the way down to 168 BCE, that's when the Seleucids of Cilicia, okay, at that time in 168 BCE, led by Antiochus Epiphanes, that's when he got control of the Holy Land. You understand? Got control of Jerusalem. In 168 BCE, you'll also see this in Daniel chapter 11. When you get down there, verse 26, 7, 8, 9, you'll see he got control. You understand? The prince, the one that came, this is the Seleucids, this is Antiochus Epiphanes. And he had indignation against the Holy Covenant. And that's when the Ptolemies lost control of Jerusalem at that time. But before then, they were in control of Jerusalem, you see, from 320 all the way down. So, to 168 BCE. That's why, again, in this Unger's Bible Dictionary, when you read, I'm pretty sure it's under Jerusalem, you'll read there where it says that the Alexandrian Jews are the ones that, you understand, gave the orders or the instructions to the Palestinian or the Jews who were in Jerusalem. You follow me? And that's your Edomites. That's that Daniel chapter 11, verse 14, right? You understand what I'm saying? When it says, during this time, many shall rise up against the king of the south. Okay, that's your Ptolemies in Egypt, south of Jerusalem, right? And it also says what? Also the robbers of thy people shall exalt themselves to establish division, but they shall fall. Again, it says that if you got a King James authorized version, basically, because, these other versions like the JPS, the Jewish publication, you understand, with the Edomite on one side and the English on the other, they totally aberrated that in 1114 Daniel. And that is a key passage, okay? It's also aberrated in the Schofield, in the Oxford Bible, in the Catholic Bible. You follow what I'm saying? That's why that King James authorized version is the best one to be read. Now, also, I don't know if many of you heard it, they had a blizzard again, around, was it Texas and Oklahoma? They had a blizzard, I think it was Texas, and 235,000 head of cattle died in the blizzard. They showed them, we saw it on Democracy Now! Here a couple of days ago. You follow me? They showed it in the headlines. Frozen, just like here a couple of years ago, we talked about it. The same thing happened when many of these Texas and Oklahoma ranchers were moving their herds up into Nebraska, and I think the Dakotas, and y'all hit them with a blizzard and killed them. You can't run from the Most High. Also, many of you might have heard about it came on, they just showed it real brief. It was on RT this past week. The Palestinians the Edomites have been revealed as spraying Palestinian crops with, killer pesticides, so the Palestinians can't eat their food that they're growing. They showed that, okay? See, you're not going to see this kind of stuff more likely than not on Fox, CNBC, and, ABC, CBS, NBC. It's more likely they're not going to show you that. See, that's why you should be watching Russia Today, RT, Al Jazeera, possibly Press TV, so that you can, Democracy Now, and again, you got to all watch them all with a discerning eye, okay, and a discerning ear. You listen to them. Also, you remember I mentioned about the carrageenan. Those of you who've been, with this movement for the last so many years and following or been in the website and went through it meticulously. I talked about that carrageenan and the situation that I had when I took all of this coconut milk back here the other year that had carrageenan in it, and I took it back to Whole Foods, and the Gentile woman manager came out, saw, evidently she saw from the eye in the sky, so she came on down. I told you, she was like, well, I told her that she asked me what was the problem. I said, well, this carrageenan is another term for MSG. And she said, well, we don't have any MSG in our product. I said, what she said was, well, I don't believe we have any. And I said, well, you talk about what you believe. I'm telling you what I know for a fact. And so, now I just wanted to bring this up. Now, those items in Whole Foods, they don't have carrageenan in it now. And they got that on the front of the cartons. We don't have no carrageenan. Okay? So they've taken it out. You understand what I'm saying? So many people probably have become aware of it, brought it to their attention, so now they're not, they've taken it out. But you still got to watch for that carrageenan because it looks like carrageenan. You got to really discern it so that you don't, get this carrageenan, which is just another form of MSG. I got just a few articles here that I'm going to deal with just to make keep you abreast of what's going on. This is our Chicago Tribune, January 6th. They talked about this on Democracy Now! Here the 7th, okay, which was Thursday morning. Those of you who want to hear it in depth, bring up Democracy Now! And listen to it. You'll hear this lady that was on there talking about this situation, about this TPP, this Trans-Pacific Partnership, how, it's been hidden from the people, and secret agreements, and they've signed it, or they're getting ready to sign it, right, and bring it into law. But she was pointing out these things now that's come out that are incorporated in this Trans-Pacific Partnership, setup, right? And they got new rules for meat labels, okay? And in this Tribune article here, January 6th, they're talking about it. It says, new rules for meat labels, it's complicated. Now, that's the headline, right? And they say, says Congress repealed a meat labeling law last month that required retailers to include the animal's country of origin on packages of pork and beef. Now, Congress has repealed that. You see what I'm saying? And since 2013, American consumers have seen labels on their meat telling them where the animal was born, raised, and slaughtered. But in late December, Congress repealed the law that requires country of origin labeling, otherwise known as COOL, C-O-O-L, COOL, right? So is this a good thing or a bad thing? That depends on whom you ask. It's an issue that has created some strange bedfellows in industry, politics, agriculture, and trade circles, okay? And then they go on to say, here's what you should know. And again, it's a big article. I'm not going to go through all of it. Possibly you can bring it up on the internet some way and go into it yourself. and read about it, because they got what proponents say, they got what opponents say, what consumers think. Some meats are exempt. Okay, I'll just read that. What meats are exempt says the final repeal applies to pork and beef, but not to chicken. You don't have to apply to chicken, right? Because, I mean, it's funky anyway, right? You know what I mean? You ain't supposed to be eating it anyway, right? And lamb products, so it doesn't apply to lamb products, which both still do need labels, okay? And again, they, you know, like I said, they've got what the livestock groups stand divided, because, you know, a lot of these ranchers and livestock, you know, producers, you know, they don't care for the labeling. You see what I'm saying? And they got the response by Canada and Mexico says they're mad, right? Say our neighbors to the north and south say cool has caused them more than $3 billion in damages. See, it's all about money. They don't care about what the people are getting out here. You know, what you might be feeding yourself, your children, you know, the elderly. They don't care, you know, as long as they're making money, right? They say cool could have brought heavy penalties. You know, that's from the WTO, right? They say the WTO has, you know, for you that might not know what the WTO stands for, World Trade Organization, has ruled multiple times against the cool as written, saying it unfairly discriminates against meat imports and gives the advantage to domestic meat products. All right. So it's more there. But like I said, possibly go in and you can probably type in cool, COOL. It might come up under that, or type in TPP, Trans-Pacific Partnership, and type in new rules for meat labels, and it'll probably come up under that. You can scan it yourself, okay? And I'm sure many of you have heard about what happened in Flint, Michigan. And if you haven't, you can go to Democracy Now! Yesterday, the 8th of January, 2016, and look and listen at what actually happened in Flint, Michigan. And you'll hear them say about this contaminated water that the governor and the officials of Flint, Michigan allowed to be basically made available and put into African-American, so-called Black, but Hebrew Israelite communities of Flint, Michigan. All right, quite naturally, this has affected some Gentiles too, but mostly they put this contaminated water for drinking. They sent it to Flint, Michigan, which from like I said, you look at that Democracy Now! On the 8th, and they're going to be talking about it. Like the first half of Democracy Now! Is talking about that and how this was done, you know, over a year ago to save money. You hear me? To save money. See, and this is what, you know, this is going to happen even more so. The worse this money situation gets, and it's bad now, and it's going to get a lot worse. That's what happens. You know, how can we save money? Who can we short? Who can we send this contaminated, whatever, food, water, Who can we start taking from to save us money? You know where they're going to go first. They're going to go to the so-called African-American, Latino, right? First Nation people, so-called Indians, right? You understand what I'm saying? That's who's going to get hit first. Like I said, it's the same scenario for those of you who saw the Titanic, the movie. That was true to form. When the Titanic hit the iceberg, you understand, and they knew, the captain and the architect knew that it was going to sink unequivocally. Who did they go and start saying, put on your life jacket, put on some warm clothes, and come on to the lifeboats? Who did they start getting first? The rich folks. What did they do with the poor people? They locked them down below the deck. And the poor people was doing what? Down there partying. Those of you who saw the Titanic know I am not lying, and Cameron showed you the real deal. I hope you saw it for the profoundness that it was being projected there. They locked the poor folks down under the deck. The poor folks down there dancing and partying, drinking, having a good time as the Titanic was sinking. And all the rich folks was being ushered to the few lifeboats that they had. Okay? And that's the real deal. That's why I said again, this thing is systemic. You can't change this daughter of Babylon. The only way the people can change, period, is to get into this book of remembrance, this so-called Old Testament, and go to Yah, the creator of us all. See? Because you got many Israelites who don't necessarily know they're Israel. The majority of us still yet, right? But you got many Israelites, so-called black, so-called African Americans who are what? Prejudiced, who are biased, okay? Who hate so-called white folks, who want to blame them for all of their troubles. And that's totally incorrect. And for those Israelites out there who got a problem with what I'm saying, if you want to substantiate what I'm saying, just go to 65th chapter Yeshaya and see whose fault it is, real concise and quick. For those of you who haven't really read this book and understood it, and you'll find out where the problem, who was the problem, and who's carrying the burden of this problem, if you will, in the sense of the responsibility, better said, of why this world is in the shape that it's in. Because our forefathers, the children of Israel, would not obey the law of Yah, the Father of us all. And that's why this world is in the shape that it's in. And that's why Yah has put this double curse on the descendants of Jerusalem. That's why it said in Hosea, chapter 10, verse 12. That's why I said in Jeremiah chapter 4, verse 3, talking specifically about Jerusalem, break up your fallow ground. See, because the ground, before you can sow it, you got to break it up. You got to plow it so the seed can be inseminated, so that you can get some crops. And in this sense, I'm talking about human crops, a harvest of those who desire and seek and want peace, truth, righteousness, equity, who are looking for salvation from out from under this demonic, satanic, oppressive system that overspreads the earth, to bring an end to all of this gross darkness, Yeshaya chapter 60, that the people are in, and this darkness that the earth is in and under, from all the toxins and the waste and the pollution that's all across the earth, that's all in the water, that's all in the soil. Like I said, you know, I don't do these newspaper articles just to hear myself talk. It's to substantiate and confirm the prophecies in this book, that what Yah said, what was going to happen on this earth, and what he was going to do in the last days of the four kingdoms of man. And again, you just go to the 42nd chapter of Yeshaya, and he tell you that. And don't we see the earth drying up? Don't we see the water polluted and drying up? That because this water situation is serious. I can't stress enough how serious it is. And all of you who hear this, and all of you who will hear this, okay, you just think, you try to go 3 days without some water. You understand what I mean? As I said in the past, I went 3 days without food and water because I wanted to see what Hadassah and Mordecai and them went through. And I did it once, and I'm telling you, on that third day, I was moving real slow. Real slow. Because you can go a little while without food, but you can't go no real long time without any water. All right? Because all your vital organs will start to shut down. Water is very important. and the whole, you understand, the aquifers of the earth are dried up drastically. I said it right that time, didn't I? I said that for Yada. That's my wife. I love her with all my heart. She be on my case about saying words specifically right. I said aquifer, she told me in the last one. So that's put a little levity in there, right? But the point being is these aquifers are dried up. As I just read, 2 major articles that I had in this stash. Okay? And I mean, they were big articles. Those of you, when this is put up on the website, and you go to the website, when I'm talking about it, I put the maps where you could see these countries, whole nations that are almost totally dried up with no water. America, India, I mean, this is happening all across the earth. Now you tell me that's not Yah. Prophecy being fulfilled right before our eyes. Like Yah says in the 42nd chapter of Yeshaya, but who will give ear for the time to come? Who will hear? Who will take notice and understand who is appointed the rod? Because it's Yah of hosts. And again, he is salvation and he alone. And that's for any and everybody, that's on this earth. You want salvation out of this situation that the world is in and the people thereof, you got to turn to Yah. I don't care who you are. Like I said, even the Edomites that can't come into the congregation of Yah now, these adult ones, even the ones that's the youth right now, but you can still have everything. You can still, if you got any bit of understanding left, you can possibly point your children to the way of Yah, and maybe your children's children can come into, as it says in Deuteronomy 23rd chapter, they won't be able to come in until the 3rd generation after Yah is established. Because Yah, again, which was the tenor of this session per se, it has to be close. It has to be very close. Like I told Yadida last night, we were talking, and I said, I don't see us doing this too much longer. These sessions. Okay? I don't. We did 4.5 years with Mark Sims. Okay? From July 06 to January 2011. We had a year's cessation. We wasn't doing it. We was like dormant in a sense. And then, as I've said in the past, Yadida started calling in the latter part of 2011. We had a few conversations, and she said, Yehuda, let's do Power Talk. I said, what's that? Okay? She explained it to me, and I'm like, all right, let's do it. Okay? And we started doing these Power Talks in January 2012. And now we're 4 years into doing these. Okay, so like for 8.5 years now, Yah's been bringing this message out. It's gotten even more in depth. I'm not patronizing myself. Hey, I've learned. Those of you who've been watching this, listening to it, you know I've grown. Okay, I've learned. And I've learned from different sources. I've learned from Yadida. I've learned from Yeremia. Okay, see? We growing. I'm growing. I don't ever want to stop growing until I'm dead. See, so, Yah's been bringing illumination through this movement, and all of you who've been following it, all of you who've gone into the website meticulously, you can see it for yourself. I'm sure many of you, if not all of you, have grown to some degree, to whatever degree that growth has taken effect on you. That illumination that has been brought by Yah through this movement has affected you. Many of you have told me this. I don't know if I've talked to most of you in the room, but I know I've talked to many of you. And many of you who will hear this message who are not in the room today, whenever you hear it. Okay? But this is all Yah. I can't take no credit for it. I'm just a conduit. And glad to be that. I'm blessed to be that. Simple as that. So this is what's going on. And again, in regards to those Saudis, killing the cleric, more likely than not, because the Saudis have been put between a rock and a hard place. You know what I'm saying? They got to go along with this Illuminati Edomite, lowering this oil price, but they don't really want to. You understand? So more likely than not, that's why they killed the Iranian cleric here last week. You follow me? Executed him with 46 others. See? And basically he wasn't, he wasn't espousing any kind of any comments to overthrow them. You understand me? But more likely than not, they killed him so that they could bring this situation where they could butt heads with Iran to try to do what? Make these oil prices go back up. That's how I'm telling you. You understand? That's how these people are. Okay? They don't care who they got to kill to make their bed better. Look at what the Saudis is doing to Yemen. They bombing it unmercifully. They keep their own people oppressed. This is a dictatorship that America is backing. But they'll come back around, America will, through its media propagandists and tell you that they only for democracies. But the Saudis, total dictatorship. Those Ishmaelites they set up over there in Kuwait. I mean, they cut that away from Iraq. You follow what I'm saying? Back there around World War I, they cut that away from Iraq, started calling it Kuwait, and set the Al Sabah dynasty up on it, puppets for them. And that's a dictatorship. But they steadily talking out of both sides of their mouth, talking about democracy. They're not for any autocratic dictatorship. But they sponsor these two dictatorships. You follow me? So this is again the militia, group. They hear this, and that's why they're like, you understand? They like pushing the envelope. Is this a democracy? Is this predicated on the Constitution or not? See, and more likely than not, you understand? Illuminati Edomite, they know what they're trying to do. You follow what I'm saying? That's why they telling their army, hold off, don't attack them, let's just hold off on them. Maybe they'll get tired and go home. You understand what I mean? Let's ignore them. Maybe they'll go away. See, that's why those militia guys came out immediately and said, we're going to stay here until kingdom come. We're going to make you talk to us. We're going to make you respond. Because I know many of you heard about Waco and David Koresh, right? They don't want to do them the same way. So like I said, these militiamen, they got people in Congress. They got people maybe in the Senate. You understand what I'm saying? They got people in sensitive areas. They got people in the Marines that might be colonels and generals and, you understand what I'm saying? Captains and lieutenants in the Navy, in the Air Force, in the Army. And the Illuminati Edomite, the Skull and Bone Boys, they know this. See, because again, you got to understand the Skull and Bone Boys, and the Illuminati, they like what? They like a cancer. They come in and light on the host. And that's what cancers do. They light on the host and suck the host they light on of all their life properties. Isn't that right? And when the host that the cancer lights on, the parasite lights on, when the host is dead, then the cancer leaves off, the parasite leaves off, go someplace else and light on something else that's alive and kicking. Isn't that right? And America, as the country, is almost dead. Okay? Hated around the world for being the oppressor that it is. Like I said in this session, I've said it before. America is a wicked country. All you got to do is just study your history. Okay? And any of you out there, if you understand, if I'm a lie, post it up on the screen and say, yo, you lying. Because what I'll say to you is, you don't know your history. Simple as that. Okay? That's what America is. You know, like when you watch that Democracy Now! The other day, you'll see this Paiute Indian, First Nation, one of the First Nation people, right? He come on there, he said, you know, how are these militia guys coming in talking about this land belonged to them? He said, my people was on this land back there in the 19th century. When he said, yeah, in other words, when the Caucasian came, he said they moved us off the land and set us next to a garbage dump or in the garbage dump. That's what he said. Listen to it for yourself. He said, you know, they took the land from us. And we all know that, don't we? Huh? The John Waynes, they came and said, this land belongs to us. Okay? And any of the First Nation people that stood up against them, what did they do? They called them savages and killed them. And all they didn't kill, they shipped off far away from where they were, shipped them somewhere and put them in like a little mini concentration camp. Now that's the history of America. And again, like John Henry Clark said in The Great and Mighty Walk, he said he don't see how any of us, talking about so-called African-American blacks, right? In essence, Hebrew Israelites, right? He said he don't see how any of us could be a Christian, right? When they brought us over here, the Pope sanctioned our captivity. The Pope at the time, the Catholic Church. And they brought the first bunch of us over here on what? The good ship Jesus. Now, all these Israelites out here talking about Yeshua or Yahashua, or he's my salvation in this New Testament, it just goes to show you how they are confused, how they are in gross darkness. Like earlier, as a matter of fact, I just saw one come in here. I think he was one, this Veritas seeker, whatever he called himself, or she, and they was spouting out some stuff earlier. I saw it. Y'all brought it to my attention. And, you know, they popped in. They must have heard me talking. They popped right back out. See? Because, again, when y'all starts bringing this light, like I was saying to a sister I was on the phone with earlier during the session, you know, she was saying how, she was trying to run the people, you know, her relatives and people she knew. She was trying to run them away from her. I said, you don't have to try to run them away from you. I said, all you got to do is be about the Most High. They will run away from you. I'm a witness to that. That's 53rd chapter Yeshaya. You ain't got to try to run them away. All you got to do is be about Yah. And they'll run away on their own. See? Because they, you know, all of us who roots out of dry ground, when you awaken and you find Yah and you turn to Yah with all your heart and soul, and the people who you've known, relatives, friends, so-called friends, associates, you understand? When they see that you no longer do those things that you used to do, that they still do, they're going to stop coming around you. Why? Because you make them feel what? Like Genesis chapter 3. Adam, and Eve. You understand what I mean? You make them feel naked, exposed. And they become transparent around you. They feel exposed, naked. And they feel what? Ashamed. Because you make them think. See, because they know how you used to be. See, how you used to eat chicken and pork ribs and barbecue ribs, pork ribs, right? They knew how you used to eat the chitlins and the coon and the black-eyed peas. And for those of you out there that don't know what I'm talking about when I say coon, I'm talking about the raccoon. Right? The possum, the rabbit. You know, in Leviticus 11, it says the hare. Hare. Those of you, know, you stop eating the turkey, the buzzard. See? You stop smoking reefer. You stop snorting cocaine. You stop drinking codeine cough syrup. You stop snorting or shooting heroin. See, you stop taking methamphetamines. You don't want any drugs at all, of any kind. You stop going out on the Sabbath day. Huh? There's people, like I told the sister, there's people that have known me for years. And I run into one that, you know, I remember this sister I went to grammar school, high school with. I ran into her a few years back, right? So she said, yeah, she said, I saw, you know, one of my guys I used to, you know, we used to run together. And she said, I saw him and I told him I was having a party and I told him to tell you. And he asked me, well, when is the party? She said, it's Friday night. And he said, well, he ain't coming. I ain't got to tell him because he ain't coming no way. And she said, well, you can at least tell him. He said, I don't make no difference if I tell him he ain't coming. He don't come out on Friday night. Now, that's what they see. They might not ever mention it to you because this one who she was telling, he ain't never asked me about what I'm doing. He ain't never mentioned to me about what I'm doing, per se. I take that back. He did mention when we started doing these things on TV with Mark Sill. He mentioned that to me one time. But he didn't get into talking about it with me. We didn't have no conversation like that about it. You follow what I'm saying? But he told her, he said, he ain't coming. This was years even before that. We did the thing with Mark Sims. He told us, he ain't coming. It's on a Friday. He don't come out on Friday night. See, they watch you. They know what you do. You ain't got to tell them. Because they know what you used to do. And they know you're not doing that anymore. That's when the phone stops ringing. That's when the bell stops ringing. 53 Yeshaya, they all, as it were, what? Hide their faces from you. When you start carrying this message, and for any of you Gentiles that's in the room or will hear this whenever you hear it, I done had Gentiles tell me the same thing. Don't make no difference what your nationality is. You start carrying the message of Yah, people gonna start saying that, you know, they're gonna esteem you smitten and inflicted of God too. You crazy. Huh? They're gonna start hiding their faces from you. Why? Because what? They're exposed. They're naked before the truth because the word of Yah is fire. Huh? And it burns away all of that facade that people hide behind. It burns away all the idolatries. Islam, Christianity, Buddhism, Hinduism, whatever ism, Judaism. It burns all that away and exposes it for what it is, idolatry. Also here, Chicago Tribune, January 7th, okay, you understand? I know many of you might have heard about the emergency declared for months-long gas leak in LA. The California Jerry Brown declared a state of emergency Wednesday over a massive natural gas leak that has been spewing fumes into a Los Angeles neighborhood for months. You hear me? Months this has been going on. We saw it on TV. That thing's coming out. They had it with a certain lens where you can see it. It's like a black plume of smoke when they put that certain lens on it. Other than that, you can't tell it's coming out because it's invisible to the naked eye. Now, that's been going on for months. Okay, they say the well has been gushing up to 1,200 tons of methane daily. So this is like another Gulf spill. You follow what I'm saying? Down there in the Gulf. This is similar to that. But this is all in the air. You follow? Now, okay, also Chicago Sun-Times, January 7th, right? Many of you might have heard about that trooper, Brian Incendia, who arrested Sandra Bland. I know many of you, not all of you, saw him, you know, what he did to her, right? How he treated her. Well, he got fired. You know, he's no longer the police down there Hampstead, Texas, wherever it was.
He's appealing.
But he's appealing it. You hear Yada? She said he's appealing.
He should be in jail.
But he should be in jail. You might have heard my mother. He should be in jail. Okay, prosecuted. But they fired him. They say for lying, right? Okay. Also, January 6th, Chicago Tribune. Here's it says, eating leaves of cilantro clears psoriasis patches. Okay? And they say, you can eat cilantro and it will clear up psoriasis. Okay? For months at a time. Okay? But also here again, Chicago Tribune, January 6th, armed activists seek land control. They got a big picture of Ammon Bundy, leader of Citizens for Constitution. You hear that? For constitutional freedom. A group of activists critical of federal land stewardship. Okay? And he says it's their goal to get the rancher back to ranching. That's their goal. Okay? And they got another big article said how Oregon ranchers sparked armed standoff. See? Because they're doing their best to bring the government to where the government is going to, talk to them, that they can bring out all of these inconsistencies, that this is supposed to be a democracy predicated on the Constitution. If that's the case, then you got to abide by the Constitution. If that's not the case, let's get it all out on the table now so that you'll stop saying and propagandizing that this is a constitutionally based country, because if it's not, it's not. And we need to know that so we can take appropriate, action and do what we need to do, which again, as I just said earlier, to me precipitates that Jeremiah chapter 51, she can't be healed. Let every man flee back into his own country. The German going back to Germany. The French is going back to France. The English is going back to England. The Belgians going back to Belgium. You follow what I'm saying? The Netherlands going back to Netherlands. The Swedes going back to Sweden. They ain't going back to Denmark. You follow what I'm saying? Let everybody flee back into his own country. And with that right there, where's the black man going? Where's the black country? Because I haven't seen that. What's that? I haven't seen no country called black country. And again, if you say Africa, African American, where he going? He going back to Africa? What is it, 80 different nations over in Africa? Where you going over there? Because they ain't going to want you when you come. There's only one country for Israelites, and that's Israel. And that's what this book, Genesis through Malachi, this book remembers, that's what it projects, does it not? Israel's supposed to go back to Israel and do what? Fulfill Israel's responsibility and obligation to who? The Father, Yah of hosts, he who creates, the King, found the living water, spirit, creator of all things. And we're not going to prosper till we do that. Okay? And that responsibility and obligation starts right now. Because the process of refining starts right now. Letting go of the ways of the heathen. Jeremiah chapter 10. Proverbs 3:31. Envy not the oppressor, choose none of his ways. And I say that again because the conversation I had with this sister earlier, I had to say to her, when she's talking to me, you understand, her and her guy having problems. They butting heads. I told them here the other week when they called. I talked to both of them. You understand, the best thing for them to do is part, because it turns into a he say, she say, pointing fingers, putting blame on one another. And like my mother raised me and my brother, she used to tell us, a lot of times it's your side, the other person's side, and still the right side. So you don't get into the blame game. You follow me? And if you're going to get it, and anytime you go in introspection, you got to start with you. As I said in this session, I've said it before, and it ends with you. You got to look at yourself. Because it's all about each and every one of us getting in harmony with this law. I said that on the first show with Mark Sims. I know many of you, if not all of you, have seen that show. What did I say in the end? We got to return to this law. We got to do this law. What did Mark say to me? Or people ain't going to do that. People ain't going to read the book. I ain't read it. I ain't going to read it. I said, well, you might get one or two out there. Didn't I say that? Everybody has to make a decision. And understand, you come to Yah, you've got to do what? And this is specifically for Israel, but it's applicable to everybody, right, per se, but definitely for Israel, because Yah's got it in that Leviticus 26 chapter, verse 40, 41, and 42. We got to acknowledge the sins and the iniquities of our forefathers, and we've got to acknowledge our sins and iniquities that we have committed since we've been in the world. And then we've got to what? Accept of our punishment. And everybody's got, their punishment that they've got to deal with, the repercussions and the consequences. As I said before, many of you out there, maybe your punishment is not going to be like mine has been. That's why I've been on this path now since October, knowingly since October 1973, I started reading the book, really knowing I was Israel in, like about the middle of 74, toward the end of 1974. You know what I mean? Because like I said, when I got to the end of Deuteronomy, and I read Genesis through Deuteronomy, I knew I was Israel. I knew me and my people were Israelites. But nevertheless, it's been a long journey. Here we are, 2016, January 9th. Like I said, I don't see us, having too many more of these sessions on Pal Talk. I just don't. Because if it doesn't happen by chance, which I don't see, but if it doesn't happen, I know many of you in the room right now, y'all, Yehuda don't know what he's talking about. He said they're going to be out of here before September. They still here. The Edomites still in the land. So, you ain't going to be paying no attention, and I couldn't blame you. Right? Simple as that. I don't see it any different. Hasten means picking up speed. When Yah says in Habakkuk chapter 2, when he starts to bring his way on, it's not going to tarry, it's not going to be delayed, which implies what? It's going to be hastened. And it's picking up speed. Like I said, how long can you go without drinking water? And look at the people in Flint, Michigan. They've been feeding them over a year, this contaminated, lead-filled, toxic water. Why? Because they don't have much water. So, they started sending the water to Flint, Michigan, that's basically 85-90% Israel, to save money and to also save what? Good drinking water for them to drink. That's how serious this is. And again, this is going on across the earth, because over in the land of Israel, they've been over there. You understand? The Edomites have been controlling the water over there in the land for a long time and keeping our brothers and sisters who are Israel, the so-called Palestinians, the buffer. And again, let me just say this again. I'm not saying all the Palestinians are Israelites, just like all us over here not Israelites that look like we might be Israel, okay? So don't get it twisted, right? But the majority of those Palestinians over there, more likely they are Israel. Look how they being treated. And if you look and see how they being treated, look at some of the old films, you understand? Matter of fact, you can look at some of the recent ones, but definitely back there in the 60s and the 70s with the civil rights marches, I don't see any difference. They had the dogs on us back then. They got the dogs on them over there in the land, don't they?
They got the guns on us.
They got the guns too. If you heard my mother, got the gun, got everything on. You know what I'm saying? See, so this situation is serious. This is no joke. And not only for Israel, but for everybody on the face of this earth.
Right.
Not unless you can make water, and food. But I'm pretty sure you need y'all to make water and food, right? Like he says in 66 Yeshaya, in the new heavens and the new earth that I shall create. And we need it bad. We need those things real bad. Okay? And the last article here, Chicago Sun-Times, January 5th, ancient schism inflames a modern world. Sunni and Shiite Muslims have a very long history. And again, you understand, those of you who are not privy to it, you can go and do your research. This Sunni Shiite schism came about with the murder of the one who was to take the original Muhammad's place. You know, when the original Muhammad that started Islam died, he had, before he died, he passed the mantle to this particular person, and this person was assassinated, and another person came and took his place, and the ones who assassinated the one that Muhammad anointed to take his place, they became known as the Sunnis. The one who was assassinated, who was supposed to take Muhammad's place, his followers became known as the Shiites. And that's when you get the schism. Who that sound like to you? Sound like Illuminati's hand in that? Divide and conquer. Okay? So, we open for questions. Like Yada just said, all of the Saudis that were killed with that cleric, 46, with the people who were in Saudi Arabia, they were all Shiites. Not Saudi, but they were all Shiites. Okay, but again, as I said, the Saudis are doing this to cause a war. If you look at the Max Kaiser with Gerald Celente, the 31st of December, if you haven't seen it, make sure you do your best to listen to that, to go there and pull that up, Max Kaiser with Gerald Celente, December 31st. And you'll hear Gerald Celente, I'm in total agreement with him. He what he said, the reason why the Saudis did it, again, they want to drive the price of oil back up. So the best way to do that is what? Create a war. Okay? Like I say, first you got currency wars. They've had that. Now you got trade wars. You got that going on with all these different sanctions and whatnot, right? When that doesn't work, what's next? War. Straight out war. That's what drives the prices of commodities up. And that's, again, why gold, silver, copper, beans, rice, okay? All what's considered a commodity, all that's getting ready to go through the roof. Simple as that. What's next? What's the questions? Okay. Okay, what's this? Okay, if you got a question, you gotta type it in. We're not mind readers here. Okay, if there's no questions, then we can call it a session, and that's okay. I'm not trying to make you have a question, okay? All right, doesn't look like it's any questions today. Okay, wait a minute, okay, this is Yad Dwayne. Isn't the Illuminati the new world order now? Well, again, they want to set up. Yeah, that's them promulgating the new world order, which in actuality is the same old people, but just less of them. Okay? I said that in the past, the new world order is the same people per se, or should I say, better said, some of the same people, but just not as many. Okay, because again, it's just the same old line. Like I say, Solomon said, nothing new up under the sun. You had, say, maybe 25 of them sitting at the table running the world, say, at one time. Illuminati, different ones of the Illuminati, maybe some of these Gentile monarchies, right? Now you got a few of these Illuminati, basically headed by the House of Rothschild. They want to par down to where, say, it's hypothetical, right? It was 25 sitting at the table. They want to bring it down to 5. Okay? Or whether it was 5 sitting at the table, they want to bring it down to 1. You see what I'm saying? That is, like I said, that's the new world order. They want to run, basically the House of Rothschild want to run everything. Okay? Want to run the whole world. And that's what you see in Yeshaya chapter 14. He's called Lucifer to the morning there. Okay? What's next? Okay, Uremia, have you heard anything about broccoli not being good? Yeah, I heard about that. That is, broccoli's not supposed to be good. I heard about that. It's a hybrid. I heard about it. What can I say? I know I've eaten plenty of it. Okay, but since I heard that, I haven't gotten any. I've been eating collard greens. We've been getting collard greens and squash, yellow squash. So, hey, what can I say? You know what I'm saying? Give it a break. Stay away from it. You know what I mean? And I see what Rivka Black, she's got isn't broccoli hybrid. I've heard that. Okay? But you hear so much now, and I say I can't refute it. I don't know. I'm not an agriculturalist, so it very well could be. Like I said, I've stayed away from it. I haven't gotten any, since I heard it. Okay, and again, I've eaten plenty of it. I'm still here. What Yah says, nothing that they try to do is gonna work on those of us who's about Yah. But at the same time, if it's not good, I don't want to eat it. But how can you basically substantiate and confirm these things, But like I said, I give it a break and no problem, because there's other things, you can go to. Like I said, we've been eating a lot of collard greens. We've been eating, cabbage and some other things. So, there's plenty of vegetables, plenty of vegetables. Okay, so what's next?
It is the cow a hybrid animal?
Okay, Dawid Ben Israel, is the cow a hybrid animal? The deal is, you've got many of these steers and whatnot, per se, right? Oxys, they've been mixed. Okay? I saw a movie once. I didn't even watch the whole movie, but it was about cattle being brought from abroad, and to be crossbred with it was all steers. You dig what I'm saying? But it was one brand or species, right? It being brought in from abroad to be mixed with the ones that was here. So if you mean that to be a hybrid, it very well could be in that sense. Okay? Okay, now y'all just pull something up. And again, in this particular book, it's supposed to be, it's a cruciferous vegetable. And what right here? Okay, it says if you have severe symptoms. Oh, okay, what?
It just may suppress.
Okay, it may suppress thyroid function. All right, and again, thyroids filter the system of impurities, so it may suppress the action of the thyroid, where the thyroids can't do their job in the body to the full capacity, especially that we need today, being pounced, bombarded with all of these toxins and and impurities and whatnot, the chemtrails, the everything. Like I said about this, methane gas that's coming out over in LA, been coming out over a year. What they say, months, right? 1,200 tons a day, right? But you can't see it with the naked eye. So all those people that's, you understand, because the wind is taking that, we probably breathing that stuff. Here in Illinois, you're probably breathing wherever you are in the country, right? Because the air is the wind is taking it whichever way the wind blows. And it's been spewing out now 1,200 tons every day for months, they say. You understand what I'm saying? So now you need all your thyroids working at full capacity to filter your body of all this toxicity. You follow me? I mean, it again, what did y'all say through Jeremiah chapter 30, verse 7? Alas, that day is great. It's even the time of Jerusalem's trouble, right? That's what it should say, Zion's trouble, not Jacob, even though Jacob is in trouble. But in this particular instance, it says it's the time of Zion's trouble, because it says Zion later on, but Zion, the Jerusalem movement, is going to be saved out of it. Okay? But again, in Daniel chapter 12 at the top, right? A time of trouble never been since it's been a nation. Okay, the angel Michael is standing for us, right? Standing for us, watching over those of us who have turned to Yah with all our heart and soul, whether you Israelite, Gentile, Hamite, Shemite. If you're acceptable in Yah's sight, Michael is watching over you too. Okay, because Yah's not prejudiced. Okay, Yah's not racist. Yah is not biased. And for those out there who say, well, he's prejudiced with Israel, no, he created Israel for a specific purpose. Now, and anybody got a problem with that, then you go argue it out with Yah. But as they say, my name is Wes, I'm not getting in the middle of that mess. Okay? Because, you want to argue with Yah and confront Yah, hey, that's on you. My whole thing is just to do what Yah says, the way he says to do it, period. Because he knows what's best, I don't. In regards to how this is supposed to run, I take orders and glad to take them. Let the responsibility and obligation of running this earth rest with he who created it. What's next? All right, Yah is great. I agree. Psalm 41, why is it not speaking about today? Governor David had to offer up sacrifices on feast days. Okay, Yah is great. Again, go to Hosea chapter 14, and when you finish reading that, pay particular attention where it says we offer up the cares of our lips, we pray. When you finish reading that, go to 1 Kings 8 and or 2 Chronicles chapter 6 and read Solomon's supplication, and pay particular attention when Solomon says, if we sinned against Yah and he scattered us out of the land into the nations, at some point we returned to Yah and prayed toward that temple, which is not there now, but toward that city, which is Jerusalem, which is there. That's again why the Illuminated Edomite has discombobulated these maps and tells us that the world is round, moving through space at 17,000 miles an hour around the sun. Okay? Which is all a bunch of hogwash. All right? So we have to know the way to Jerusalem so that when we pray, offer up the cares of our lips. Again, read Yah's acceptance of Solomon's supplication, 1 Kings 9, 2 Chronicles 7, that I mentioned in this session that just played. I've mentioned in the past, when we make supplication toward that city, he will hear it. That's our offerings and sacrifices now. When you finish reading all that, go to Yeshaya chapter 66 and read what Yah says at the top of the chapter. He who offered an offering is like he offered swine's blood or cut off a dog's head and offered it. Okay, because all the offerings and sacrifices are for the temple of Yah that's not even up yet. Okay, and again, the first offerings and sacrifices won't be offered until this third and last temple has been built in Jerusalem. Okay, and again, before that can happen, Yah has to run out, as he said he would, the descendants of Esau and judge them. And then after he runs the descendants of Esau out of Israel into their land and judges them, then he brings back the Jerusalem movement through the elite of the earth, these kings, queens, princes, and different Gentiles. Again, Yeshaya chapter 49 and chapter 60, okay? And again, the Illuminati Edomite has to co-sign that because they're the ones who got the dominion, and you'll see that in Yeshaya chapter 27, verse 5, when Yah said they're going to make peace with him and cause those, again, of Jerusalem, not Yaakov, to take root in the land because they got the dominion. See, so all these things, it's a chain of events that have to take place before the temple is built. Because again, Ezekiel 11, verse 18, and Micah chapter 5, when the Jerusalem movement is brought to Jerusalem by Yah through the elite of the earth, our first order of business, as you read in Ezekiel 11, 18 and Micah chapter 5, is to get rid of all the idols and images in Jerusalem. It has to be totally cleansed of all idolatries. And once that has taken place, then this third and last temple can begin to be built. And once it's completed, you'll see in Malachi chapter 3 at the top, that's when Yah is going to come in when we put on that first sacrifice to Yah. That's when he'll come into his house, okay, in the cloud, just like back there with Solomon and the children of Israel when the first temple was built and complete. And he'll dwell in the midst of the children of Israel from that point on forever in the Holy of Holies. He'll take his place as king, reigning over the earth. Okay? What's next? Okay, Elia, is it true that the Muslim prophet Muhammad got in contact with Israel during his lifetime and interacted with Israel? Well, again, he didn't do that with Israel. If he did it with the Edomites. See, if that took place, he was dealing with the Edomites, all right, not Israel, because, again, Islam came on the scene and was established in 622 CE AD, right? Well, Israel had been in captivity for centuries. When you get to the 7th century CE AD, all right? And not only that, as we've said in the past, when you read Yeshaya chapter 6, right? Ezekiel 37, Hosea chapter 6, Daniel chapter 18, Israel was totally cut off. Minds were to be totally wiped clean of who we were, who we are. And that was to last for 2 days, Hosea chapter 6, or 2,000 years. And we know we started to awaken in 1896, right? So 1896 plus 104 is 2000. So by the time you get to 104 BCE, you didn't have an Israelite on this earth that knew they were Israel anymore. And I talked about this in the past, where you can see when you come down, when you start, coming down, you understand, you seeing the light going out. Isn't that what we see in Ezra, the book of Ezra? You understand? When they came back, all of them didn't even know, huh? You understand? We started chapter 7 of the book of Ezra, right? All of them didn't even know their genealogy. That's in 458 BCE. Then we see the light getting dimmer in the book of Nehemiah when he came back the second and last time, as we've spoken of in the past, the 13th chapter. Huh? Because you had Israelite children who was running around as he witnessed on his return to Jerusalem, who couldn't even speak in the Israelite language. They were speaking in the language of their mother, who was of another nation. That's denoted in chapter 13 of Nehemiah. So the light is getting dimmer, correct? When you go into Daniel chapter 11, verse 31, 2, 3, 4, 5, as we pointed out in the past, don't you see there where it says, and again, that took place in 164 BCE. And we see there, doesn't it say, but those who do know Yah shall do exploits and instruct many? Now that's showing you it wasn't but a few who knew this book at that time and knew the prophecies of that for that time of 164 BCE, who understood the book of Daniel, who knew what was going on, who, wasn't but a few, and they instructed many. So the light had gotten even dimmer now in 164 BCE. Don't we see that? See, so 60 years after, you didn't even have an Israelite that knew they was Israel. Again, when you go to Ezra, okay, chapter 1, and this is 536 BCE, and Cyrus issued the proclamation for all Israel, okay, all Israel, all 13 tribes, right? He said, all Israel that want to go back and go back and build that temple, that second temple of Yah, right? But none of the 10 tribes, you understand? Ephraim, Samaria, if you want, none of the 10 tribes came back. And not all of Yehuda, Benjamin, and Levi came back. Only a remnant. Isn't that right? Don't we see the light going out? Again, when you go to Jeremiah chapter 3, verse 7, what did Yah say? He's talking about the 10 tribes as Israel there. He said he beckoned to them more or less. He called them like to come back, but they returned not. You follow me? That's 536 BCE. And again, Jeremiah in chapter 3, this was even prior to that. Because, the 10 tribes, basically the bulk of them was taken out in 722, 721. Again, those 2.5 tribes on the other side of Jordan was taken out in 741. So when Yah is saying this in Jeremiah chapter 3, verse 7, right? This is early on in Jeremiah's watch. So this is like, 628, 627, 626 BCE, huh? Yah said he had beckoned to the 10 tribes to return to him, but they returned not. That's even the ones, the diverse amount that escaped out of the hands of the kings of Syria. 2 Chronicles chapter 30 came back on their land. We can see that in 2 Chronicles 30 that Hezekiah beckoned to them to come up to do the Passover, right? They mocked his messengers. A few of them came up, but most of them didn't. See? So, you understand what I'm saying? The light steadily going out. We steadily going further and further away from Yah until eventually all Israel was gone. By the time you get to 104 BCE, you didn't have an Israelite that even knew they was Israel. So there's no way that they could have been conversing with the Muslims in 620, with Muhammad in 622 CE AD. If anything, like I said, that was the Edomites calling themselves Israel. What's next? Okay, Milton. Watch Shaka, the Pope calls JC in the Bible a what? A lie? Okay, well, he knows it's a bunch of crap, but he got to keep getting his paycheck. He done sold out. If he said it's a lie, he knows it's a lie. Again, but I just, in this session, pardon me, in this session, I showed a picture when it's put up on the, if you haven't seen it, when it's put up on the website, okay, you'll see me show the picture where he's kissing the idol, the little statue of suppose, this baby JC. Now, so he's putting on a good front, right? Or putting on the front. I don't know how good it is, but he's putting on the front. But they all know it's a lie. They all know it's a lie. You listen, you got many of these Israelites right now who don't claim that they Israel, who know Christianity is a bunch of garbage. They just do it because it allows them to do what they want to do. That's simple as that. Like I said in the past, look at Jesse Jackson, look at Farrakhan, look at T.D. Jakes, look at Sharpton, all of them. They all know it's a bunch of crap, but they getting paid. So they keep on doing it because it allows them to do what they want to do. Simple as that. It's all smoke and mirrors. See? And I say this from this perspective. I've been around preachers, pastors, that I didn't even know was pastors. I've talked about this in the past. This brother I know here in Chicago, he got a shoe shop. Y'all probably heard me on this session. He said I was in his place getting the shine, in this session. And how the Muslim guy came through there and put the Muslim paper in my hand, the final call, Farrakhan's paper, right? And, but I've been in his shoe shop, getting shines, and we all in there talking because he know I'm Israel. He know he Israel. And we get to talking, and sometimes, the shoe shop is just like the barber shop. It's filled with people. And he'll say something to me to get me talking. And he's done that a few times in the past. And so we get to talking, I get to talking, and next thing you know, after, 15, 20 minutes, maybe sooner, 5 or 6 people get up, eventually, they'll end up leaving on out. And then he'll tell me when the last one who's a preacher leave out, he said, you done run all the preachers out of here, man. And I said, who the preachers? He said, all that left. Okay? But they was dressed regular. I didn't know who they were, but they was all preachers. They get to talk, maybe one of the preachers will say something, and then, I come on with the truth, and then they'll end up, leaving on up out of there. You know what I'm saying? And when the last one go, because he know who everybody is, right? He said, man, you done ran all the preachers out of here. You run away my business. He started laughing because he the one sparked the conversation. See? So, they know it's a bunch of crap. You know what I mean? They just putting on the front so they can keep getting paid, keep getting fed. You know what I mean? Keep living like they live. They got to really get out here and work no job. You know what I'm saying? What's next? Okay, Arthur Neal, and peace to you too, brother. Do you think that we'll ever physically see the face of Yah according to how Yeshaya and others seeing his face? But again, brother, they didn't see his face. You know what I'm saying? They didn't see his face. They saw him in an apparition, but not his face. You follow what I'm saying? They couldn't discern his face. He's not going to allow that. Now, as far as I know what you're saying, but you got to understand that even when it says face in the book, they never saw his face, and nobody ever will see his face. Not literally, okay? But again, we're going to hear his voice. That's in prophecy. We're going to hear his voice again because he's going to bring us under the bond of the covenant. You understand what I mean? Just like he did our forefathers at Mount Horeb. We're going to hear his voice again. He's going to prove us. Okay? Just like he did our forefathers, allowed us to hear his voice. Okay, Sikkenu, will the Edomite women and children left in the land return the countries they came? Okay, return to. Thank you. Left out the two. Return to the country they came from, or will they be there when we get there? Well, again, you read me chapter 49, verse 11. As well as Yeshaya chapter 27, down in back into that chapter, right? About the women, what's Yah saying, 49:11, you read me, leave thy widows and children to me. It ain't going to be a lot of them, but it's going to be a few, not a lot. The majority of the Edomites are going to run down into their land and get judged. Males, females, young or old, the majority of them, they're going to run down into their land and be judged. Yah's going to run them down there by his spirit. Like I said, when Yah moves, can't nobody stay his hand. Simple as that. And nothing returns unto him void. Okay? But it'd be a few women of them and children in the land, because Yah's not going to totally wipe them out. And again, just remember this, Sikkenu. The blessing that was put on Esau, what did Isaac tell him? He said, "I've made your brother your Lord." Everybody got to serve him, including you. Huh? And again, as I've said in the past, what did Esau take out? You understand? You know, Isaac had to tell him, you know, one day you're going to break your brother's yoke off your neck. You're going to get the dominion. Huh? But you're going to live by your sword. But your dominion is not going to last, and you're going to come back up under your brother forever. Why? Because you got to serve him. And you going to serve him. Again, Esau took that out of the book. And for those who say, I'm adding, I'm putting stuff in the book that's not there, again, those who's really privy to the story, right, just go to Daniel chapter 7 and look at the back end of chapter 7. I mean, it's a plethora of places in Yeshaya, in Jeremiah, in Ezekiel, right? Ezekiel chapter 40 to the end, to 48. I mean, come on. You understand what I'm saying? That had to be what Isaac told him. I mean, just think about it. If Isaac's telling him he's going to get the dominion, and that was the end of it, period, why did he hate his blessing? Huh? Explain that. Why did he hate his blessing? If he know he's going to get the dominion. What he schemed and connived and was trying to get. He hated his blessing because, like anything, you know, I've said it in the past, right? You know, all of you out there might have experienced this at some point in your life. You wanted something real bad, right? Whether it was a person, whether it was a thing, something materialistic, you wanted it real bad. And then when you got it, you felt really overjoyed. And then it was taken from you, or it left you, right? And you felt horrible because you only had it for a little space in time. Well, that was basically what Isaac was telling Esau. You're going to get that what you desire, but you're not going to retain it, because you're going to have to go back up under your brother forever. That's why he hated his blessing. That's why he's like, when the old man died, I'm going to kill you, Cole. Live by the sword, right? Same thing today, is it not? All right, yeah, Dwayne, I've heard that they are using carbon monoxide to make prepackaged beef to last longer. Prepackaged meaning packaged in a factory. That could very well be true. They doing everything else. I wouldn't put it past them. Okay? But again, you know, you got to do your best to you know, get the meat that's not prepared that way. Simple as that. Okay? You know? But they got some of everything out here. Like I said, it's getting harder. It's not getting easier. That's why, again, I know that the Jerusalem movement has to be near to being brought up out of here. Has to be. You follow what I'm saying? Because we in trouble. Didn't I just mention Jeremiah chapter 30, verse 7? We in trouble. Ain't no doubt about that. Like I said earlier, who can live too long without water? Yeah. So, you know, plus all the other things that come into play. Right? We in trouble. But Yah says, again, Jeremiah 30, verse 7, it's talking about the Jerusalem movement. It's talking about Zion. I know what it says, Jacob, some more Esau's mess. Tamper job, right? But Zion, Jerusalem's going to be saved out of this trouble. See, because look, Jerusalem goes through the pain and the agony here in captivity double than the rest of Israel. Okay? That's what you see in Yeshaya chapter 40 at the top. That's what you see in Jeremiah chapter 16. First, he's going to recompense the iniquity and the sins of Jerusalem double. Okay, Jerusalem gets the double whipping. And it gets the double whipping because of what Jerusalem did. And if you want to just read it real concise, just go to Ezekiel 16th chapter. All right? Those of you who really read the book, really, knowledgeable in the book, you know what I'm saying is correct. It was Jerusalem that led the people astray and allowed the people to go astray. Jerusalem didn't fulfill its responsibility and obligation to Yah and the covenant, the everlasting covenants that Yah made with Jerusalem, which again, the Levites, the priesthood, killing the firstborn man and beast of Egypt, took the whole tribe of Levi and took the males to be the priests, right? To him, to minister to him. He made an everlasting covenant with Zadok and his seed to be the high priest. Always got to be one of the seeds of Zadok that's high priest. All right? And David, I'm pretty sure he made an everlasting covenant with David and his seed. Always has to be one of his seed that's on the throne of Israel, being prince or governor, not king. Yah is the king. And that's Yah's arm. Again, like I just said in this session, when, first chapter Zechariah, down at the bottom, you can see it there just like you can see it in Ezekiel. You follow me? It's chapter 16. You can also see it in Ezekiel chapter 4. That's when it really hit me when I was reading Ezekiel 4 many, many years ago. And it hit me, okay, this is back, like in 85, 86, all right. Matter of fact, by 86, right around in that time when not long before, Yah showed me about the Jerusalem movement and what it was supposed to be called, Yah our righteousness, okay? Again, you see it there when Yah tells Ezekiel to lay on his left side, what was it, 490 days, I think it was, for the iniquity of Israel, the 10 tribes. And then once that was accomplished, turn over on his right side for 40 days, each day for a year, for the iniquity of Yehudah, and leave his what? Right arm uncovered, which was representative of Jerusalem. Okay, you see the breakdown there. Like I said, you see it in Ezekiel 16, right? And then you see it again in Zechariah chapter 1. When you get down there, I just mentioned it in this session when I read it, right? Okay, because I could have read Zechariah chapter 2 as well, but I just didn't. Y'all can read that on your own. You follow what I'm saying? He's talking about Jerusalem there and talking about Jerusalem, today. Okay? Because the city and the arm of Yah in a lot of places in the book is synonymous. When he's saying Jerusalem, he's talking about the arm, he's talking about the city, he's talking about the city, he's talking about the arm of Yah, because it's all Jerusalem. But places where he says Jerusalem, he's not talking about all Israel. See, that's the thing with many Israelites hadn't figured out. Many of them still haven't, evidently. Okay? When they see Zion, when they see Jerusalem, they thinking all Israel, but that's not the case. When a lot of times when it says Zion, Jerusalem, he's just talking about the arm of Yah. You understand? The descendants of Jerusalem. Not talking about all Israel. And like I said, different times as I said in this session, this Q&A. And I've said many times in the past, a lot of places where you see Jacob, it should say and did say Jerusalem, Zion, or the house of David. Like in the one chapter of Baya, when it says, the way Esau wrote it, gonna make the house of Jacob for a fire. No, the house of David for a fire. Because that's the word coming from the house of David, the seed that Yah would raise up to work through of the line of David. Again, Jeremiah chapter 30, verse 9, whom I shall raise up unto thee. No man has anything to say about it. It's Yah running the whole show, as you should want him to. I know I do. As it says in Daniel chapter 2, right? Down there around that 42nd, 43rd, 44th verse, what does he say? In the days of these kings, when they mingle seed, I'm going to set up my kingdom. Okay? So when Yah says He's going to set up his kingdom. Where's man? No human being is in that. He says he's going to do. He works through people most of the time, right? Most of the time. What's next? Okay, Sikanu, if on the Sabbath we are to gather around that which is holy, does that mean that eventually we'll gather at the temple, or will the Sabbath be kept the same? The Sabbath is going to be kept the same. And again, we'll all be around that which is holy when we're in the land, and God's in the midst of us, dwelling in the midst of us in his temple, the Holy of Holies. Right? We'll all be around Yah. You understand? The most holy. Isn't that right? But we still gonna have the book. But as I said in the past, at some point, I'm certain that, without a doubt, we won't have this New Testament anymore, and we'll have a concise book, pristine, without all of the crap that Esau has interjected, being the hunter that he is, setting his traps and snares, that he's, fooled with this book. We'll have a pristine book at some point. There's no doubt in my mind about that, because we're going to always have this book, because we always want to remember. For our seed, for our children's forever, so that they'll have this book of remembrance, so that they will remember forever. When anybody starts talking about, let's go over here and do this over here, you understand? The people, what? You understand what I mean? What did you say? Let's go over here and worship this. You better can that, because if you don't, you're going to get ready to get drug out in front of the people and stoned. Okay? You follow what I'm saying? Because again, out of sight, out of mind. So this book is going to be forever, you understand, among us. But like I said, the pristine book that I know Yah is going to give us once we get back. Who knows? It might even be the Illuminati Edomite or one of them monarchies who got the pristine book. They'll be bringing it to us. Listen here, when y'all start dropping drama on you, when he put that spirit of fear in you, ain't nothing you can do. I don't care who you think you are, what you think you got. When y'all drop that spirit of fear on your behind and whipping on your behind, you can get humble real quick. Ain't nothing too hard for Yah. Now, and the more prideful and arrogant and stiff-necked and stubborn people are, the more that whipping gonna be on your behind. That's all you asking for when you like that. All right, y'all, it's great. I'm sorry. I was asking about Psalm 40, speaking of the day, because David says, lo, I come. He's excited? What? Is this what we do when we see our seed and burnt offering and sin offering has not required? Is that because we're in captivity? Well, again, quite naturally, again, all of the offerings and sacrifices for the house of Yah. That's the way that's supposed to be carried out. Okay, but when David is talking there, he's saying that, see, you got to understand, chapter 40 Psalms, and most of them Psalms, well, I ain't gonna say most, but a lot of them, David wrote those when he was what? When he was on the run. You see? And you're not gonna see anywhere when he's talking about David in the situation of being on the run and with his men and whatnot, where he made any offerings or sacrifices. Okay? That's what he's talking about, that Yah, sacrifice and offerings weren't required. But he was doing what? Same thing we're doing today. He was praying. That's what those Psalms are. A lot of them, and he was praying. He shed a lot of tears. He talks about that, doesn't he? He said how his pillow was wet with tears at times, because he was being hunted You understand? And he had done nothing to warrant this other than be about Yah. But the iniquitous and the wicked were hunting him, charging him with lies and deception, with incorrect charges, wanting to make him wrong, but all he was doing was serving Yah. And so he was on the run for many years. In my guesstimation, it was around 9, but I can't be certain. But it was so many years he was on the run. See? So that's why he says, sacrifice offerings weren't required, because you ain't going to see where he made any offerings, any sacrifices when he was on the run. So they weren't required, but he was doing a lot of praying. Because again, that's what many of these Psalms, that's what they are. He was praying, he was praising Yah, he was lifting up his prayers, you understand, his supplications for his heavy heart. Okay? Okay, and you say, is this what we do when we see our seed and burn off his seed? Again, we start praying. When you see your seed, you connected with your past. Yeshaya chapter 53, right? When you see your seed, now you know you Israel. And now you got to make a decision. Are you going to serve Yah or not? With all your heart and all your soul. Isn't that what it says in Deuteronomy chapter 30? Isn't that what Moshe said to our forefathers? That this was the stipulation, the condition that we would have to do today when we call all these things to mind in the nations where we've been scattered. If we turn back to Yah with all our heart and soul and obey all of this law. And again, quite naturally, that's all that we can do in captivity. We're not supposed to deal with burnt offerings and sacrifice. That's for the temple. Temple not built yet. That's the main, you understand, a mission of Yah righteousness. That's the main mission. You follow me? And again, we have to obey all this law and do it exact, follow this roadmap to the letter. That's what this book of remembrance is a roadmap to the Father, to the King, Yah of hosts. Yah righteousness, he who creates our righteousness, because all our righteousness is here in this book. You understand that we have to embrace and submit to, because it's his righteousness, his word. You follow what I'm saying? And that's how, when we do this, this is what invokes Yah into action. This is what brings him into action. That's why you got the herbs drying up. That's why you got the water dissipation. That's why you got the whirlwinds. Huh? That's why you got the earthquakes and the sinkholes. You follow what I'm saying? That's why you got the economic collapse. Because again, Jeremiah chapter 25, Yah said, I'm going to bring a sword upon the inhabitants of the earth to do what? Drive them mad. Don't we see plenty of people in the world today across the earth mad? Not only angry, but mad crazy. Don't we see that? People dousing themselves with gasoline and lighting themselves up, immolifying themselves. You got to be crazy to do that. Huh? Don't we see people picking up a gun and run up someplace and go to shooting indiscriminately? San Bernardino, South Carolina, with that boy Roof. Got to be crazy to do that. But this is Yah moving these idolaters. They're mad because the sword has driven them mad. And who's the sword? The sons of Esau. And specifically these Illuminati, Amalekite, international banking Edomites. Again, when you look at that Max Kaiser, December 31st, pay particular attention to what Gerald Celente says. Because he see it. He said the bankers running the world. And he said it more than once. Okay? What's next? Okay, so can do one more thing. Don't say one more, because you might come back with 2, 3, 4 more. I've spoken to you about passports before, but when we leave here, do you think we'll actually need them saying that we will essentially be going to our own country? I'm asking this for my wife to hear. She's not American and will have to deal with a different embassy. Well, again, I just mentioned in this session how here in Illinois, right, they've passed a law now, you know, these IDs, Illinois IDs and whatnot, licenses and what, that's not good enough anymore for the state of Illinois. You need a passport now here in the state of Illinois to, like, you know, do different things. You understand? That's here in Illinois. So now, is this going to spread across the country? Like I said before, it's better to have, it's like my father said to me many years ago in regards to, I was getting ready to leave out, he said, take a jacket. I said, it's nice, I don't need a jacket. He said, take a jacket. It's better to have it and not need it than to need it and not have it. Simple as that. Because you never know, this might be one of, listen to me well, this might be one of the things that keeps people from getting on the plane. Because this movement has been saying, get your passport. And this might be one of the ways that, when you get to the plane, well, I'm Israel, I'm ready to go back. Let me see your passport. Well, I ain't got no passport, I'm Israel. Can't you see I'm Israel? Do you have a passport? Well, no, I didn't think I needed one. Well, you thought wrong. Get out of line. Now, it could be that. It could happen like that. And that'd be from Yah, wouldn't it? Again, what does it say in chapter 50, Yeshaya? Who walks in darkness, has no light, and obeys the voice of my servant. Let them put their trust in the name of Yah and stand upon their strong. Isn't that what it says? I'm pretty sure I recited that right. I'm not reading it verbatim, but I'm pretty sure that's what it says. And we've been saying that for a long time. Matter of fact, if you go back to the first show we did with Mark Sims, I said that, didn't I? And Mark said, I think he said, I don't have, he said, as a matter of fact, I think Mark said, I'm going to get a passport. Okay? Now, okay, Anisha, peace. Will Yah show mercy to those that don't believe in the Book of Remembrance and BOR, right? Due to it being tampered with, but say that when they see the prophecy against Edom is fulfilled, then they will get on board. Well, let me say this, Nisha. That's an excellent question. Okay? They won't be able to get on board if you mean to leave up out of here at that time. It'd be too late for them to make the Jerusalem movement, per se. And let me say this. I'll readjust that, because I've spoken on this in the past. You've got some who real close, you know, they doing so much now. Again, and I'm particularly referencing that Zechariah chapter 3. You know, the first 8-9 verses, right? You know, they are real close. They just off a little here and there. And when they see Esau gets judged, they very well, that could be the turning point for them. But, you know, many who, like, when you said in this question, you know, don't believe, I take that as, you know, those who not doing anything at all, per se, right? Or very, very little, okay? And then they say when they see Esau gets judged, then they get over. Well, it'll be too late for them. I'm pretty sure. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it won't be enough time for them to totally acclimate. Okay? I just ran off part of that chapter 50 Yeshaya. Okay? And again, you know, you see in Malachi chapter 3, what does it say? The messenger, right? The seed of David is going to do what? That's the messenger, right? He's going to purify the sons of Lawat. Okay? Which goes again with that Zechariah chapter 3, right? Because that's who it's talking about. The seed of Zadok there, and some, and these are, some of the Levites who have already, what does it say there in Zechariah 3? These are men what? Wondered at. Why are they wondered at? Because they've already embraced and have awakened and embraced the fact that they Israel and are promulgating that. But they're off here and there in certain areas. Okay, and again, they've heard this message. More likely than not, they've rejected it for whatever reason. Okay, and some of them are real stiff-necked and stubborn and obstinate. I just dealt with that on the last session, right? With this person who could very well might be one of them. I don't know. I mean, as recalcitrant and stiff-necked and stubborn as he is, that sounds like he could be one of these Levites. Who knows? You know what I mean? It's yet to be seen, right? But the deal is they have awakened to a certain extent. They've embraced so much. I mean, I don't know just how much they would have had to, embraced and awakened to, but that's what's implied there in Zechariah chapter 3. There are men wonder that. So, basically, any of us talk about we Israel, you know what I'm saying? These Christians and Muslims, you men wonder that. People who relatives, acquaintances, associates, friends, what have you, you know what I'm saying? They like, you wonder that, right? But they still have not totally submitted and committed to Yah. Now, when they see Esau gets judged, they very well then, this will flip them. And they like, hey, that's it. Because again, I direct you to Yeshaya chapter 52. What does it say? They all gonna see eye to eye when Yah brings again Zion. So all of these ones who's adverse to this message, they're going to be in agreement when, the prophecy comes to pass. Again, it has to be a year that's proclaimed as the acceptable time year of Yah. Yeshaya chapter 61, right? So again, we see this again in Malachi chapter 4, right? I shall bring forth El-Eah the prophet. Not anybody named El-Eah, but that messenger who is going to be similar to El-Eah in the sense that, what does he do? The same thing that the original El-Eah did in 1 Kings chapter 18. How long are you going to halt between these two different thoughts, between these two different ideologies? If Yah is the Most High, serve it. If Jesus, by all of today, is the Most High, serve him. But stop saying that you serve in Yah and Jesus, Yeshua, Yahashua, is his son. Because that's totally incorrect. So it's the same type similarity. That's why Yah said I should raise up El-Eah the prophet. But what does it say? The prophet. So something has to be prophesied. And when you go to Yeshaya chapter 61, what does it say? Yah has anointed me to preach good tidings unto the meek. Right? Let me read it verbatim. 61st chapter, Yeshaya, right? The spirit of Yah the spirit of the Lord Yah is upon me, because Yah hath anointed me to preach good tidings unto the meek. He has sent me to bind up the brokenhearted, to proclaim liberty to the captives, and the opening of the prison to them that are bound, to proclaim the acceptable year of Yah and the day of vengeance of our strong, to comfort all that mourn, to appoint unto born in Zion, to give unto them beauty for ashes, the oil of joy for mourning, the garment of praise for the spirit of heaviness, that they might be called trees of righteousness, the planting of Yah, that he might be glorified. And I direct you to Ezekiel chapter 16. And the back end of it, specifically when it says, when Yah brings back Jerusalem and sets Jerusalem in the midst of its sisters that dwell at its right hand and its left hand, to be a comfort unto them, we are going to what? Receive our sisters, the ones of them that come to Yah righteousness, Yah's arm. And in essence, they come into Yah, the king. Because again, as I said in this session, right, what does it say in the book? Yah shall bring forth the glory of the Gentiles to the Jerusalem movement like a flowing stream. So the ones of our sisters that come to the Jerusalem movement, that turn away from Islam, that garbage, that idolatry, the stone, the black stone, the rock, those who into Christianity and turn away from that garbage, the wood, okay, the idol, you understand, strung out on the piece of wood or metal, or the dead, so-called dead person, you know, all this idolatry, the ones that turn from any other idolatries and come to Yah, then we can do what? Those of us of Jerusalem that Yah brings back, we can open our hand wide unto them. Because now they're saying, what have I to do with idols and images? See, but all of them are not going to come. I can tell you that now. All of them not coming. Okay, it's some right here now. I've been told, I didn't look at it, but you remember you told me this a couple weeks ago. You're like, yeah, this person, he said, even if this is the movement, he ain't coming. I mean, come on. Your Remy was appalled. You're like, how can you say that? And you say you're about the Most High. You know what I mean? And so, you know, so you got some of these hard nuts. You know, like I said in the past, many of these Gentiles, you know, this is a bitter pill for them to swallow. But again, they're going to have to humble themselves and come to Yah, our righteousness, the King, if they want salvation. Because they're not going to get it any other way. I can tell them now, this Ammon Bundy in the group, they're not getting any mercy from Esau. See, like I said, the only reason he probably hasn't sent in the jackals on him already is because he knows there's going to be some blowback. You follow me? Because he knows these people, these are Gentiles, okay? You understand what I'm saying? They got people in sensitive areas. So he don't want to just go in and like he probably wants to do and blow them away, even though he ain't got a bit of sense anymore. You know what I'm saying? And he still might do that, you understand, anyway. We don't know. He might do a Waco on now. All right? See? You never know. Esau, you never know what he's going to do because he's crazier than crazy right about now. You know? Because when Yah takes the cup of trembling, the cup of drunkenness out of the hand of Jerusalem, he puts it in the hand of the Edomites. And definitely, you know, all of Esau, again, we see that in the one chapter of Abijah, right? What does it say? He gonna take all the wisdom. Yah said he gonna take all the wisdom and understanding out of the mount of Esau. That's all of them, from the least to the greatest. How much more these who's in power, who's risen to the dominion? You know, these descendants of Amalek. Numbers chapter 24, who's risen to the descendants, risen to the dominion of the world. These international bankers, you know, the first of the nations, Numbers chapter 24. You know, because you understand, that's why, you know, back in 87, when we got the tax exemption, the 100% tax exemption, and I went to get the seal for Yah righteousness, you know, I had to pick out the logo, you know, and I'm looking through this book that these Edomites, that's who was, you know, that's who's all into that game, Edomites, right? And so I'm sitting downtown Chicago up in the office, and they gave me a book to go through for a logo, you know, for the seal for Yah righteousness. And so as I'm leafing through this, you know, these laminated pages with these different, you know, things for a logo, the first thing I saw that kind of hit me was a fire, because I know the word is fire, right? So I thought about it and I said, well, I don't know. So I flipped a couple of more pages and I saw the lion, full-bodied lion that you see, you know, on the logo for Yah righteousness, right? And when I saw it, it's like Yah shook my hand. I'm not kidding you. It's like my hand shook. Like he sent a charge through me. And I'm like, yeah, that's it, the lion. And the first thing popped in my head, what really shot to me was that Numbers chapter 24, where when you read it, you see, when Balaam, the son of Beor, was talking to Balak, the king of Moab, what did he tell him? He said he could see it, but not now. It was for the future, talking about today. And he said, you understand, Israel, talking about the nation, was going to rise up like a young lion. And that's why that lion is in the middle of that seal for Yah righteousness. And representative of the nation of Israel, that's going to return to Yah. Okay? What's next? I hope I answered your question. Yadida, peace, sister. Won't they be sold to the Sabians? Yeah, you talking about the Yadida, where is that? I know where you're talking about. They're gonna be sold to a people far off. Yeah, the Sabians. Yeah, that's the remnant of the Edomites. But where is that? It escapes me now. Just where that is. Where is that, Yadida? I know you know because you brought it up. Yeah, it escapes me just where it is. Yeah, a people are far off. That's what it says. Yoel, is that Yoel chapter 3? Yadida? I think it's Yoel. Yeah, right. Malachi. Yeah, peace. Right. Yoel 3. Right. But again, that's not only the Edomites per se, though, right? That's all those who participated in that, which is the coast of Lebanon. Isn't that what it says? And we see in Amos chapter 1 some of those nations who participated in that. But we see them all basically in the 83rd Psalm. All those nations who participated in that in any shape, form, or fashion. Because Esau put the bounty on us, right? That we might be removed far from, and then, the ones of us who were still talking about we were Israel in any shape, form, or fashion in those nations that you see in that 83rd Psalm, then they went into conspiracy with Esau, the Edomites, and they rounded us up, any ones of us who were still talking about we was Israel. Many of us wasn't talking about we was Israel then, because this is 320 BCE. And as I said earlier, right, 200 plus years earlier, you follow what I'm saying, in 536 BCE, right, when Cyrus issued the proclamation, none of the 10 tribes came back. You follow what I'm saying? They was gone. Many of Yehuda, Benjamin, and Levi, majority of them didn't come back. Some of them did, though, make an offering, contributed some silver, some gold, something, you understand, to those who was coming back. All right? So my point again is when you get, 216 years later, thereabouts, right? And you get down there to 320 BCE, right around in there, that's when, this Amos 1, Yoel 3, the 83rd Psalm took place. And when the Edomites put the bounty on us and sent it to the rest of those nations, send me them Israelites, I give you so much a head. You understand? Just like here in America, right? You understand? So many of us wasn't claiming to be Israel anymore. You follow me? But the ones who were, they gathered us up and sold us to Esau. And then Esau sold us to Ptolemy Soter, the Grecians, right? And it was the Tyrians, Phoenicians, so-called Phoenicians, children of Hittites, who's running Tyre, they supplied the boats. I talked about this in the J.C. Myth, in the last hour of the J.C. Myth, because I read, the piece out of what was that, the middle of the Oxford Bible. It got some good history in there. That's what it's good for, And I read that out of there, right? Where the Tyrians supplied the ships. And they loaded us up, the ones of us who were still talking about we was Israel, and sailed across the back of that basin over to Alexandria, Egypt. And that's when they had the slave auction. But nobody would buy us when they saw who they was trying to auction off. Again, that's that 68th verse in the 28th chapter of Deuteronomy. You follow me? So we were sold back. The Edomites bought us back, from the Grecians, because no man would buy us. And then they took us on further into Eden, which they eventually started calling Africa after Scipio Africanus Minor. You understand what I mean? And it's my man. They took us into the land of Niger. You follow me? Niger. And not long after that, like I said, a few centuries later, when you get down there to 104 BCE, we was known as Nigers. And eventually that evolved into nigger. Right? That's how I see it. That's why that connotation has laid on us to this day, nigger. Because, that's where we was dropped off, in Niger. You follow me? What's next? Rivka Black, peace to you, Sister Yehuda and family. Peace to you too, Sister. Will you break down the Daniel chapter 10 time frame again? Cyrus' reign began in 535. No, Cyrus' reign began in 538 BCE. He was already king of Media Persia, but that's when he became king over the earth per se. That's the inception of the Media Persian kingdom in 538 BCE. Okay, that's why again when you go to Daniel chapter 9 and Daniel sees the translation of the Babylonian kingdom to the Media Persians. Now that's the Media Persian inception of the Media Persian kingdom. He's wondering, are they still going to get cut loose after the 70 years? And it was 70 weeks to go. A year, 4.5 months left. That's your 70 weeks, right? Did I say what I said? No, a year, 2.5 months. That's what was left. God bless. And so he knew it was, this time left. So he was praying because he wanted to know, are we still going to get cut loose? That's when it was revealed to him. It's 70 weeks left, to fulfill the prophecy. Right? Did I say that right? No, a year, 4.5 months. I said it right the first time, right? Because 16, 18, and 52 is 70. You follow me? So it was a year, 4.5 months left, and that's in 538 BC. Like I said in the past, when you're doing this tracking, put your Sherlock Holmes hat on, you doing this detective work, Esau got these little dips and, these incorrections, these aberrations in there, because he knew one day we were going to be trying to, figure all this out, you see. But y'all only allowed him to do so much, you got to be really consistent, and then y'all will lead you and let you see this stuff. But Esau's got in the prophecy, in the history, that Babylon came on the scene. Babylon was destroyed in 539 in some of these history books, but then in some it's going to say 538, and that's the year it was. Because there's no way that you can get from 539 to 536 in 70 weeks or a year, 4.5 months. You follow me? You can only get to 536 from 538 in a year, 4.5 months. And we know it had to be 536 because that's the first bunch was taken out by Nebuchadnezzar in 606. As I said in the past, the year before Nebuchadnezzar actually became king. He was co-regent in 606 with his father, Nebuchadnezzar. But his father died in the next year in 605, and that's when Nebuchadnezzar became king. Some people want to count from there, but that's incorrect. It's from 606. Now, when you get to chapter 10, and it's telling you in the 3rd year of Cyrus, and this is already taking place. Daniel's telling you what is already taking place, okay? And what he had been shown. And again, chapter 10 goes from 10:1 all the way through 11:35, Daniel. All of that's the same vision. Okay? But it starts, as Daniel's telling you, in the 3rd year of Cyrus, which is 535 BCE. Okay? And again, this is when you go to Ezra chapter 3, verse 8, this is when, or should I say, this is when the foundation for the second temple had been laid. As it tells you in Ezra chapter 3, verse 8, it was in the second month of the second year of Zerubbabel and them's return that the foundation for the second temple had been laid and completed. And they had a celebration, like a dedication. And this is when the adversaries at the top of chapter 4, Ezra, came up, and wanted to participate in the building of the temple, and they were rejected. And then they sent this accusation, this lying letter to Cyrus, not Artaxerxes. That's some more Esau's mess. He's tampered with that and replaced Cyrus's name with Artaxerxes in that 4th chapter, Ezra. And again, we know it had to say Cyrus because when you get down to the bottom of Ezra chapter 4, it's going to tell you that the temple stayed not worked on anymore until the second year of Darius the Persian. And Darius the Persian was the grandfather of Artaxerxes. You follow me? So there's no way that his grandson could precede him. Okay? See, that's the kind of stuff that Esau tried to pull, and Yah made it so stupid, that people, when they really do research, they can see it. Yah lets you see it. Okay? But when it says in the second month of the second year in Ezra chapter 3, verse 8, again, you follow what I'm saying? When you go to Daniel chapter 9, right? The top half of the 60, what is it? The 26th verse, right? It says after 62 weeks, the Messiah would be cut off. In other words, Zerubbabel was going to be stopped, but not for himself. He didn't want to stop, but he was made to stop, okay, because of this lying accusation that, Esau and the Ishmaelites, I know, and whoever was with them, but Esau was more likely leader of the pack, right? They sent to Cyrus, accusing Zerubbabel and Yahushua, the high priest, and them of doing something they wasn't doing, right? But again, Cyrus was determined to get this temple of Yah built. I mean, that's what he's saying in Ezra chapter 1, is it not? He knew Yah had raised him up and given him all the kingdoms of the earth into his hand that he could build him a house, right? So he was determined to do this thing. But as you read there in chapter 10, you follow what I'm saying? Yah, Daniel's telling you when the letter that the adversary sent to Cyrus, when it was read, because Daniel is a man of high degree. He's sitting there in the court of Cyrus. So when the letter was read to Cyrus, he hearing it too. But he already been told 3 years earlier, you follow me, that the Messiah, the prince, Zerubbabel, the governor, he gonna get cut off, but not for himself. That's in chapter 9. He had been told this 3 years earlier. So when he heard this accusation read, then that's when he started to what? Cyrus went into contemplation. Cyrus is in consideration mode. Daniel, he goes into what? Afflicting his soul for 3 full weeks. You follow me? And it says he what? He ate no pleasant bread. We know he ate bread, okay? But it wasn't pleasant to him. You follow me? He ate no flesh and drank no wine. So we know he ate flesh and we know he drank wine, but he wasn't eating it during these 3 full weeks. And he didn't anoint himself. He didn't wash for 3 full weeks. See? And that's affliction. Believe me, because that's something, man. Because I can't even sleep. If I've been up moving around all day, I can't sleep unless I take me a bath or a shower. I feel I can't sleep good. You know what I mean? He went 3 full weeks and didn't wash. Okay? Now, that's during the time that it took the angel, and should I say the angels that Yah sent, because first Cyrus was determined to build this temple. And again, when it says in Ezra chapter 3 verse 8, in the second month of the second year, all right, we know it's 52 weeks in a year, right? All right, we know it's 4 months 4 weeks in a month. Now that's 56 weeks completed, and it's in the second month of the second year. And as I said in the past, it couldn't be passed, I doubt very seriously, if it was past the 58th week. I look at it as it was either in the 57th week or in the 58th week, because we know, according to chapter 10, Daniel, that it took the angel of Yah 3 weeks to work on Cyrus to get him to put a stop to the building of the temple, because he didn't want to do it. You follow me? And that's what it's telling us in chapter 10. Esau did some, fooling around in that chapter 10, trying to confuse you, which he had me confused for many years. It wasn't until just here a few years ago, y'all let me see that. You follow what I'm saying? And he put an S, behind kings is only, and he put prince there is only talking about Cyrus. And the first angel that was sent to work on Cyrus to get him to put a stop to the building of the temple, he wasn't strong enough to get Cyrus. That's how determined Cyrus was to have this temple built. And the first angel couldn't do no good. So Yah had to send Michael, the chief angel. And when Michael come on the scene, that's when Cyrus finally, Michael put the stuff on him, and he went on and put a stop to the building of the temple. But it took 3 weeks. So now, if you're in the 57th week, at the end of the 60th week, then Cyrus issued the command to put a stop to the temple till he had a chance to look into this accusation, more likely than not, right? And if it was at the end of the 58th week, then it went to the end of the 61st week. But we know, as the prophecy so stated in Daniel chapter 9, verse 26, after 62 weeks, the Messiah, or the governor, the prince, Zerubbabel, whose captive name was Sheshbazzar, Ezra chapter 1, he was going to be stopped. He was going to be cut off from building the temple, but not from himself. All right? So, as I've said in the past, they didn't have telegraphs back then, right? They didn't have, you understand what I mean? The stuff we got today in that sense. More likely than not, they had a pigeon service, okay? And so that was a long way away, because it took 3 to 4 months to get from up there in Persia all the way to Jerusalem by camel and or horseback. You follow me? So more than likely they had a pigeon service in operation, okay? And I figured it was at the end of the 61st week possibly that, because I figured it took maybe a week on the pigeon service, maybe a little more, and when Cyrus issued the command to put a stop to it and sent the message, and by the time they got back to Jerusalem, it was at the end, right at the end of the 62nd week. And what does it tell us in Ezra chapter 4 at the bottom? That when the adversaries got the response, again, not from Artaxerxes, from Cyrus, they rushed up and made Zerubbabel and them stop building that temple by force and power. And this is 535 BCE. Okay? Inside the second year of their return, right? Okay, now, again, it takes you off into chapter 11. And I talked about that in the past, where Yah tells us that it was going to be 3 more kings that would arise up in Media Persia. And the 4th would be richer than all the ones before him. That was Xerxes Ahasuerus, the king of the book of Esther, or Hadassah, right? We know when you go to the book of Esther, Hadassah, that when you start off reading, it tells you that Xerxes Ahasuerus, he was over how many provinces? 127. But you see, when you go and read about Cyrus and Darius, okay, specifically when you go to Daniel chapter 6, It's talking about Darius the Great there, not Darius the Median, but Darius the Great. That's what Esau tried to make you think, the way you got that set up. When you go from the 5th chapter Daniel to the 6th chapter, he's trying to make you think that Darius in chapter 6, Daniel is Darius the Median. It's not. It's Darius the Persian, Darius the Great. And how do we know that? Because it says he was over 120 provinces, just like Cyrus. Okay? But now when you get to Xerxes Ahasuerus, he's over 127 provinces. So quite naturally, he's richer than all the ones before him, correct? And it said he would stir up the whole realm of Media-Persia against the realm of Grecian, which history bears this out. We've talked about this in the past, okay? You just go into your history books and look it up. You know, the Battle of Thermopylae, you know, with the 300 Spartans, and you understand, and all of that. You know, you can go deep into it. Eurymius, he made some comments about that in the past when we've talked about this, okay? But all of this substantiates this prophecy. And he couldn't, Xerxes Ahasuerus and the Medes and the Persians couldn't defeat the Grecians, okay? And that's where the book of Esther, Hadassah, opens up after he had been stalemated and couldn't defeat the Grecians. And he was, you know, down in the dumps, per se. So his princes and consuls was trying to cheer him up by throwing the banquet. Okay? But as we said in the past, you know, as we see later on in the book of Hadassah, you know, Yah brought forth Hadassah, Esther, to take the place of Vashti, to keep Israel from being exterminated in the Medo-Persian kingdom under Xerxes Ahasuerus from, you know, this scheme, this plot that had been contrived by Haman the Amalekite and his comrades. Okay? Because they plotted trying to get us wiped out. And that's how Yah circumvented that. Okay? And then again, you know, chapter 11, Daniel, you know, it keeps going on telling you about how the Medo-Persian, you know, Persian kingdom would be defeated by the Greek kingdom, you know, the he-goat, right? And how the Greek kingdom would come on the scene. And the first horn in the head of the he-goat was Alexander. You know, because you go in your history, Alexander was the first king of all Greece, Grecia. You know, his father, Philip II of Macedon, he was master, but he never was king because the Spartans never, you know, he never did, I think not Spartans, but the Amphibians. He never ruled the Amphibians, okay, because Greece was split back then somewhat. But it was Philip that paved the way for Alexander. But Alexander became the first king of all Grecia. Okay, history substantiates that, and that's the prophecy, right? The great horn in the head of the he-goat is the first king of all Grecia. And again, as I said earlier, you know, Alexander was poisoned. He was broken. You know, Esau for many centuries, you know, in these houses of miseducation that they call institutions of learning, he has lied and deceived us, you know, the patrons of these houses of miseducation, by telling us what he wanted us to know and telling us what he wanted us not to know, you know, in certain ways. And that's one of the things he didn't want us to know, was how Alexander actually, you know, was murdered. You know, they tell us in the history books for many, many, many centuries that, you know, Alexander died of a fever. You know, he got sick, died of a fever. They didn't tell us that fever was induced by poison. And as of 1995, we got a little article here. I mean, a little article I cut it out of the paper. I mean, it was real little. That the burial place of Alexander had been found so far outside of Alexandria, Egypt. It was in a cave. And when they found it, it was an inscription inside the cave that was put there by Ptolemy. And the inscription was said, to he that drank of the poison. Okay? And again, that substantiates the prophecy. He was broken. He was poisoned. That's why when you look up Antiochus Epiphanes, and you read about, what it says about him in chapter 8, right? That the little horn that would pop out of one of those four horns after the great horn was broken. Again, that's the four horns that came from the Diadochi, the 7 generals of Alexander. And 2 of the horns would be stronger than the other 2. And that's the 2 horns or lines that are followed here in chapter 11, Daniel, as you keep reading, because you see the inception of the Greek kingdom in 11:3 Daniel. And as I said in the past, when you get to 11:14 Daniel, you're inside the Greek kingdom. And that's when, 11:14 Daniel, that's when you're down in 175, 168 BCE with the robbers of our people, these Hasmoneans, Osmoneans, Maccabees, who were Edomites. And that's when they exalted themselves to establish the vision. Okay? But the 2 horns that popped out of the, up on the head of the he-goat, when, 4 of them popped up after the great horn was broken. Again, 2 were stronger than the other 2, and the 2 that was the strongest, that's the ones that the book is following. And the first one, again, was the Ptolemies in Egypt, south of Jerusalem, the king of the south, as it's called in Daniel chapter 11. And then that was established in 320 BCE under Ptolemy, right? And then in 283 BCE, that's when Antiochus Seleucus established the Seleucid dynasty in Cilicia, which is north of Jerusalem, and that's the king of the north. Okay, so now as you go through, you see the king of the south, the king of the north, and as I said earlier, you understand it was always from 320 BCE down to 168 BCE, until 168 BCE, should I say, that the Ptolemies were controlling the Holy Land, Jerusalem, right, the surrounding area. And that is what put the greatly illuminated Amalekite Edomites, who were based in Alexandria, Egypt, who were aligned with the Ptolemies. That's what kept them in control of Jerusalem. As I said earlier, those of you who are privy to the Unger's Bible Dictionary, okay, like we've got here, you look it up, it's under Jerusalem or Palestine. It's one or the other. I think it's Jerusalem. It don't hurt you to read both areas, though, about Palestine, what they've got there, and about Jerusalem in that Unger's Bible Dictionary. And you'll see where it tells you, and during this time, it was the Alexandrian Jews that dictated policy, in other words, to the Palestinian Jews. And these were the Edomites, okay? And that made all the sense to me in the world, because it was the Alexandrian Jews, these handful of Amalekite Edomites, who were greatly illuminated, who had gotten hold of the book of remembrance, you see. And again, remember, they weren't illuminated yet to the book of Daniel. Again, that couldn't happen until after 161 BCE or after the 2300 days that you see in chapter 8, when Daniel asked the angel, how long is the daily sacrifice going to be stopped? And the abomination that makes desolate sit on the altar. Okay? And the angel told Daniel, right, it took 2,300 days. And as we've said in the past, for those of you who've gone meticulously through the website or have been with Yah Righteous listening to these sessions over the year, it was in 168 BCE, what we call today December 25th, right, that Antiochus Epiphanes stopped the daily sacrifice when he got control, wrested the control of Jerusalem, the Holy Land, away from the Ptolemies. And like I said earlier, you'll see this in Daniel chapter 11 when you get down there to verse, when you start reading about it in verse 25, 26, 27, and then in 28th verse, Daniel chapter 11, that's when you see Antiochus Epiphanes. Now he's on his way back to Cilicia, right? But now he's wrested the control of the Holy Land away from the Ptolemies. Now it's in the hands of the Seleucids. Antiochus Epiphanes, he's on his way back to Cilicia, but he stops in Jerusalem, and it's like, okay, new sheriff in town. Ain't gonna be no more of this worshiping this Yah stuff. And he stopped the daily sacrifice, December 25th, 168 BCE. He put the pig on the altar in worship of the S-U-N, the sun, because they sun worshipers. Okay? You follow me? Esau changed it, to S-O-N when he came up with the JC garbage, right? But it was in worship of the S-U-N. Okay? And that's when you start counting those 2,300 days. And as we've said in the past, you can do it with a calendar, with the calendar we got today, this Julian calendar, which is intercalated, predicated on the lunar and the solar. And you can do it from that, and you're going to end up at April 14th. That's when them 2,300 days ends, like 6.5 years later on April 14th. You can do it with this calendar day. Just start at December 25th and then count off. You understand what I'm saying? 2,300 days from December 25th. You're going to end up at April 14th. Okay? It's just that simple. Math don't lie. All right? And all you out there basically know April 14th is what? All of y'all that heard that conversation I had with that David Ben Israel, right? Around and around and around, right? Exodus chapter 12, right? On the evening, when sundown on the 14th, that's when they started cooking the Passover lamb. It still ain't Passover Feast of Unleavened Bread yet, but that's when they started cooking it. And at dark, that was the beginning of the 15th day. And that's when Passover and Feast of Unleavened Bread began. Passover specifically, and Feast of Unleavened Bread too. And as it tells you in Exodus chapter 12, verse 8, they ate the lamb, the unleavened cakes, and the bitter herbs when? That night. And it had to be of the 15th. And again, since that came around, you understand, the only reason David Ben Israel didn't want to acknowledge that, those of you who heard that around and around and around, you understand, for like 4 hours, you understand, the only reason he didn't want to acknowledge that is because he understood to acknowledge it means that a 24-hour period begins at dark, not with light. Okay? It's just that simple. He could see it. He just was being obstinate. He saw it in the first conversation we had about that, which was the third conversation we had. He just was being obstinate, recalcitrant. And, you got some people who like that. Okay? Simple as that. But it still comes out. And then you'll see that after the 2,300 days, and this is talked about in Daniel, starting at chapter 12, verse 11, when it says concerning the daily sacrifice. Okay? And then you read, it's talking about what took place in 164 BCE, those 44 days where Antiochus Epiphanes was killing whatever Edomites, when he ran the Edomites out of Jerusalem, when they had taken control of Jerusalem for those 8 days that they got Hanukkah from. Because that's from them. That has nothing to do with us. That's the Edomites. When they thought Antiochus Epiphanes had been killed in that battle out in the Mediterranean with the Romans, the ships of Chittim, the Roman fleet that was based on Cyprus. This is when Antiochus Epiphanes, as it says here in chapter 11 Daniel, he was going, after many days, he was going against the Ptolemies in Egypt, but this time to totally knock them out. But like I said, it wasn't going to be like the former time, the previous time, because the ships of Chittim would come out against it. That was the Roman fleet. Because between 168, when Antiochus Epiphanes got control of the Holy Land from the Ptolemies, and 164, when this happened, the Ptolemies had gone into a treaty agreement with the Romans because the Romans was rising up, and they had a fleet, the Romans, in Cyprus or Chittim. And when they got word, that Antiochus Epiphanes had gotten this big maritime navy together to go against the Ptolemies to knock them out, their fleet met Antiochus' fleet out in the Mediterranean. They had a big battle, and the Romans defeated Antiochus and his fleet. But the rumor came into Jerusalem and into the Holy Land that Antiochus had been killed. And see, the Maccabees, Hasmoneans, the Edomites, right? They had been having a guerrilla war back and forth with the forces of Antiochus in the Holy Land. See, because they're trying to establish themselves. Again, Daniel chapter 11, verse 14. They're trying to establish division. You understand what I'm saying? But when they heard that Antiochus had been killed, then they like, we're going to take Jerusalem. So they attacked Jerusalem, attacked the Syrian Greek force that was there, killed so many, ran the rest out, and they got control of Jerusalem. Now, this is in 164 BCE. When the remnant of the Syrian Greek forces, got back to Syria and found out that Antiochus wasn't dead, that he like, what y'all doing here? Hey, we was attacked by the Edomites, because, back then, everybody knew who everybody was. You understand what I'm saying? They're like, we got attacked by them Hebrew Edomites. You understand? And they he said, well, we're going to take it back. So he got his army together. They went 8 days, took them 8 days later. They got back to Jerusalem. The Edomites saw him coming, they end up running. You follow what I'm saying? Judas Maccabee, because he the leader of them now. His daddy dead. He dead. Judas Maccabee, the leader of them, okay? Because the Hasmoneans, Hasmoneans became known as the Maccabees, right? So they ran, and Antiochus sent part of his force after. But he stayed in Jerusalem, as we see in Daniel chapter 11, verse 31, 2, 3, 4, 5. He stayed in Jerusalem, and now, as it tells us there, the arm of Yah that was hooked up with him and cleaving to Antiochus with flatteries, just like these Jesse Jacksons and, Al Sharptons and T.D. Jakeses and, Farrakhan, even though Farrakhan, he tried to act like he against them, but he hooked up with them too. You understand? Like all of them basically cleave unto him today, because Farrakhan, he's part of the dialectic. You dig what I'm saying? He's the antithesis to the Jesse Jackson, Al Sharpton, T.D. Jakesons, and the Creflo Dollars, and he's the antithesis to them. That's the dialectic. I gotta tell y'all like this so you understand. Don't get tricked by this Farrakhan nonsense. All right, you see what I'm saying? But he's the antithesis to their thesis. You follow me? And that's the illuminated Edomite in the middle, controlling the thesis, the antithesis, to bring about what? The desired result, the synthesis. That's how he run the game. That's again why in that fourth beast in Daniel chapter 7 that Daniel couldn't discern. And when he went to the angel, he said, like, my Lord, like, what's up with this? I don't know what that is. When the angel started breaking it down, what did he tell him? This fourth beast going to be diverse from the previous three. And again, what did the fourth beast? I said it in this session that just played for all you who were listening. When the fourth beast was described, it had teeth of iron and nails of brass. See, because this is when the Illuminati Edomites started learning this game of the dialectic, the diversity, playing people off against one another, diversifying people by any means necessary. You see that with Ptolemy, because they played Ptolemy off against Alexander. You follow me? Because now they starting to come into their, the prophecy of them rising to the dominion. And this is the illumination that Yah has started to inseminate into them, where they were starting to come into their being the hunter, where they're being they have started to become very, very perceptive on the characteristics, the habits, the desires, where they can see the desire and the wants of people. You follow what I'm saying? Just think about it now. You follow what I'm saying? Look at how this is culminated into today. Look at the commercials, the advertisements that they put upon us constantly in magazines, in newspapers, on radios, on television, on this internet. They got commercials on this internet now. They got commercials at the show. Y'all did not went to the show the other day. You understand what I mean? We sitting there, they running commercials. I was like, y'all, this is what I come to the show. I don't want to see no commercials. She said, that's what they doing. You follow me? It's always attacking your mind, trying to program you with what they want, how they want you to think. You follow what I'm saying? And that's what this sister, who I understand wrote The Matrix, that's what she's putting forward in the movie The Matrix. Woo. That's why they've attacked this book. And y'all allowed them to attack it. But the point being is they still couldn't do any more than what he allowed them to do. You follow me? That's why, as I've said in the past at different times, when I talked about this, okay, this is why y'all allowed this book to be put in the form that it is, so that when he raised up his movement, when he raised up this seed of David and started to inseminate this illumination in this seed of David, that he could bring it out to the people, the elite of the world, they got the real book. These Amalekite Edomites, these men, they got the real book. Some of these monarchies got it. And when they listen to this and they looking in the book, they like, how did he figure, at some point, one of them gonna say, how did he figure this out? Another one gonna say, how you think, foolish y'all? That's why when you look at that 52nd chapter, Yeshaya, what does it say down there at the back end? The kings shall shut their mouths at him, for that which had not been told them shall they see. Because as I said in the past, see, the Illuminati Edomite, they saw it when it first reared its head. They saw it back there in 86, 87. They saw it then. Because they were told by who? By the Skull and Bone boys. You understand? Again, Yeshaya chapter 41, verse 9. Like I said in the past, when you look up chief in 41:9 Yeshaya, look that up sometime in your Strongs. It's going to have a different set of numbers by it than all the rest of them chiefs. And when you look up the definition for that chief in 41:9 Yeshaya, what does it say? Secondary extremity. And why does it say it like that? Because the Skull and Bone boys, they not the big chief, they the little chief. They get orders from the big chief. And who is the big chief? The Illuminati. Just like I said in the past, for those of you who heard it, or should I say for those of you who haven't heard it, if you can, get this book called Skull and Bones 322 by Anthony C. Sutton. It's called, as a matter of fact, it's called The Secret Establishment, Skull and Bones 322, The Secret Establishment. You understand what I'm saying? By Anthony C. Sutton. You get that book and read it. And Anthony C. Sutton, he tells you that it was information sent to him. And he had this information for some years. Hadn't read it. He said when he first got it, he kind of glanced at it. He took it, like, put it up on the shelf. You follow me? He didn't read it for a few years. And then he said one day he just came across it, and he let me really check this out. And he said when he really got to checking it out, he like, I'll be doggone. This is he said this is talking about, the real deal here. That's when he come to find out that the Skull and Bone boys was nothing but an extension of the Illuminati. See, because back then, you go back so far, people thought that the Skull and Bone boys was really running everything, thought they was the one that was running everything. You follow me? But he found out through reading this information that somebody sent him. And like I said, he said, if you get the book, he tell you, it was a few years before he finally just had, came across it. I think he was clearing out his stuff. You know how you Got a whole bunch of stuff. Like, let me clean some of this stuff up. He come right, let me look at this. And he realized what he had. Okay? You follow me? And that's the essence of 41:9 Yeshaya. When it says what? When Yah said, I have called thee from the chief men thereof. But it's what? The secondary chief. And that's what the Skull and Bone Boys are. And they're the ones who run America for the Illuminati from day to day. You go back. Look, matter of fact, right now, John Kerry, Skull and Bones. W. Bush, Skull and Bones. His daddy, Old Man Bush, Skull and Bones. You go back and read about the Dulles brothers. Okay? The Dulles brothers. Read about them. D-U-L-L-E-S. Skull and Bone Boys. Both of them. You understand? That's how Kennedy got wiped out. See, Kennedy, you go back, we've talked about this in the past. You go back there to 1961. When Kennedy became president that second year, he threw the gauntlet down. He said, we got to get rid of these secret societies. That's why that's why they blew his head off in November 63. That's why they stymied him in Cuba with the Bay of Pigs. You follow me? See, Kennedy didn't understand who he was really going up against. He thought he was going up against the Skull and Bone Boys. He didn't know he was going up against Yah. Because Yah, again, Jeremiah chapter 25, I'm going to bring a sword on the inhabitants of the earth that's going to drive them mad. The Illuminati Edomites are empowered by Yah. Huh? Genesis chapter 27. What did Isaac tell Esau? You're going to live by your sword. You're going to get the dominion one day when you break your brother's yoke off your neck. How could Esau do that? There's only one way he can break our yoke off his neck. And how is that? When Israel turned away from Yah. They started worshiping stocks and stones. Huh? Islam, Christianity. Ain't nothing new up under the sun. That garbage was in existence back then. You know, you go back and do your research on Islam. They was worshiping that black stone for centuries before Muhammad came on the scene and set up Islam. When Muhammad first came up with Islam, he didn't have the black stone incorporated in Islam. And what did they do? They ran him up out of there. He went on a little, what they call it, hadith or whatever they call it, and he realized, you know what I got to do? I got to incorporate this black stone and make it the most venerated object in my new religion. And when he came back, he was espousing that, and he immediately got a following. They have been worshiping that black stone for centuries because that black stone is supposed to be what? It's supposed to be one of the stones that Abraham used to build an altar to Yah. As I said in the first show with Mark, how much sense does that make? They kissed the stone for so long that the stone started to deteriorate from the spittle, the slough, you know, the acidic, acidic acid that's in,
the saliva.
The saliva, thank you, mother. I couldn't think of the word. The saliva, you understand, the people was kissing the stone for so long, the stone started to break down. And so they did what? They put a silver band around the stone. So they would start kissing the silver band. Do you hear me? Go check this out. I done read this stuff years ago. Again, we ain't asking nobody to believe this. Do your research. It's all right there. Like I said, Esau been getting rid of a lot of this history now. That's another reason why we know that the way of Yah got to be here now. You understand what I'm saying? Because he getting rid of a lot of information where you can't track this stuff down. Because you can't put no trust in that Wikipedia. That Wikipedia, he got all kind of crap in that. Okay? See? Now that's the reality of it. You understand what I'm saying? So You understand? It's all right here in the book, and Yah has allowed this to come through this movement, what you hear. Where else have you heard this? And again, I'm not exalting me. I can't take no credit for it. It's the Father that I put my trust in. He's been leading me. How you think this information that's coming out, how you think I got it? Look at all these other Israelites since 1896, since they started waking up. You understand? William Crowder and that movement still going on today. They still ensconced in Jesus. Look at the IUIC boys. Huh? Look at the voices of the Israelites who've been sending messages here today trying to get us to come to their room. They all into Jesus. Look at these other rooms, all into Jesus. All these other groups, all into Jesus. Look at the ones that's espousing, hatred for Caucasians, hatred for the Edomites. I don't hate Esau. I just understand it. And when I talk about his demise, to the greater degree, again, as I said earlier, y'all ain't gonna totally wipe them out, but it's time for their judgment. And hey, I can't stop it. You can't stop it. They can't stop it. Just like our forefathers knew it was time for their judgment, they couldn't stop it. See? But now the whole earth is laid out there. What does it say there in what's that, Daniel chapter 7? Huh? Is it chapter 7? Where Yah says the Ancient of Days came near and he was sitting on his throne, huh? And the books was open. Is that 7? You understand what I mean? You understand? Where is it? Right. You understand what I mean? You understand what I mean? The books was open and the judgment was set. Huh? You follow what I'm saying? And what does it say? 10,000. It was thousands ministered unto him. Well, that's the nation of Israel, and those people who come from them other nations that's attaching themselves to the children of Israel, gonna be cleaving unto them like a garment, right? Ministering to Israel, ministering to Yah, and Israel's ministering to Yah. You understand? You follow what I'm saying? We the first layer next to Yah. Then you're gonna have different people of different nations. They're gonna come and want to get close to Yah as they can, which is gonna make them cleave to us. They the next layer. You follow what I'm saying? That's the book. You dig? But it say 10,000 times 10,000 stood before Yah. The books was open. The judgment was set. That's what we're talking about. Yah is in the process now of getting his arm, getting the Jerusalem movement together. That's why you got to go through refinement. You've got different ones who have come to this book, you understand, who've come to this movement. They've fallen away from this movement. Even before this movement, like the first movement I was with, you understand? None of those guys are around. Some of them not even alive anymore. I've talked about all of that. You follow me? I've made mistakes. Haven't I talked about them? But I don't want to make any. That's why I do my best to get it down just like it's supposed to be. But I've made mistakes, and y'all have witnessed, many of you, my corrections. And when it's made plain to me, I acknowledge it. But, you get people who want me to go along with them because they think they somebody, because they want to have their way, but they can't show it in this book. I ain't going to go along with somebody just to go along with them. I don't respect persons in judgment, alive or dead. I don't care who you are or who you think you are. And I'm not asking anybody to follow me. I'm saying follow Yah, our righteousness, the King. Read, study, pray, and do, so you'll understand, so you'll know these things. Because these things, what I'm espousing that Yah's bringing through me, this wasn't acquired in a day. It wasn't acquired in a week. It wasn't acquired in a year. It wasn't acquired in 10 years.